tonight is a catch-up, right? So if anyone has missed any of the lessons that we've covered over the last 7 weeks, right? But we get to do a bit of, oh look, here's the thing with the thing. That's what they meant by that, right? That's our plan. So we've covered a lot so far. And, you know, for the very first time, people pressing the button to say, hello, it's me. And they come up with a very fancy call sign, you know, white, cotton buds, echo. What? Well, you can use your imagination. But we're going to start off with, you know, how do you choose a call sign? How do you call up ATC? How do you say, how are you, right? How do you make sure your communications equipment works? It transitions then into, well, we got to learn some of the procedures. This course, we approach this course with some knowledge of how to fly the plane, right? How to be in control of it to a certain degree, as in, you know, we can do an engine startup, we can taxi, we can fly at a, you know, a pre-described altitude, and we can also maintain a heading. These are some of the skills you kind of need to have, right? But if you don't, we'll kind of, you know what I mean? We'll help you along. Now, it's gas, right? Because we're on the ground here in Shannon, Jazz has said. And we actually have live VATSim coverage at the moment. So I thought this would be a rather handy old time, you see, to jump on and listen to a bit of live ATIS. Yes, we're going to learn about ATIS and METAR, all about the weather, what VFR conditions actually mean. Can we fly by visual flight rules? And then we'll look at IFR, instrument flight rules. What do we do when the weather gets a little bit bad? What sort of equipment do we need on our aircraft? And what is all the equipment codes or suffix codes? What do they mean? We'll also have a look at airspace. Airspace, that's right. Where we can fly, where we can't fly. Any restrictions or, you know, danger areas and whatever else. We'll also be checking out then just flight planning in general. How do we get from A to B? What are we looking out for? You know, like, can we just like pick a random place and go flying? Well, kinda. But we just need to know, certain things we can and we can't do. And it all goes around flying online. Why do you want to fly online? I mean, why do you want to talk to people? We just want to go flying and not worry about it. But this is all about bringing your entire flight simming experience to the next level, right? It's bringing it to another level, a whole new level, right? So I'm going to jump in here quickly. And before we go too far, right? Get some sounds up. So I'm going to turn on the battery. My parking brake wasn't... Shh, say nothing. And we're going to put on some avionics. Because I want my radios to warm up here. But I want you guys to have a listen to an actual... I think it's still up. I think it is. It is. I want you guys to listen to an actual ATIS report, which is currently being transmitted on the VATSim network. So, with the book that we have, or the manual, or the document, which is available over on our Discord, where you can download that and follow it through step by step by step. Right? It's pretty cool. Hello there. Welcome in. We'll go into the chat now in a moment, lads. This is going to get fierce exciting now, rolling up the sleeves and everything. Did I tell you it's Monday? The good news is it's almost Friday. Yeah. Right, so the ATIS frequency for Shannon Airport is 130.950. So we're going to tune this in. Are we ready? So if I press this button.
H1017, transition level, flight level 60, departure runway 06, expect IELS runway 06, Shannon is A-level bust hotspot, ensure altimeter set to HPA when instructed. Shannon Airport ATIS information Alpha out, advise on initial contact. You have information. Alpha.
Okay, let's go.
Shannon Airport ATIS information Alpha 1830 Zulu special. Wind 350 at 7. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. 4,500 scattered. Ceiling 7,000 broken. Temperature 10. Dew point 1. QNH1017, transition level, flight level 60, departure runway 06, expect IELS runway 06, Shannon is A-level bust hotspot, ensure altimeter set to HPA when instructed. Shannon Airport ATIS information Alpha out, advise on initial contact. You have information. Alpha.
Okay, we'll have a listen and we'll see can we decode the ATIS. So it's
Shannon
information
Airport
Alpha.
ATIS information Alpha 1830 Zulu special. Wind 350 at 7. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. 4,500 scattered. Ceiling 7,000 broken. Temperature 10. Dew point 1. QNH1017, transition level, flight level 60, departure runway 06, expect IELS runway 06, Shannon is A-level bust hotspot, ensure altimeter set to HPA when instructed. Shannon Airport ATIS information alpha out, advise on initial...
Thank God he says it twice. We got most of it now. We'll go through it though. Have a listen, right? So it's information alpha.
Shannon Airport ATIS information alpha 1830 Zulu special. Wind 350 at 7. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. 4,500 scattered. Ceiling 7,000 broken. Temperature 10. Dew point 1. QNH1017. Transition level. Flight level 60, departure runway 06, expect IELS runway 06, Shannon is A-level bust hotspot, ensure altimeter set to HPA when instructed. Shannon Airport ATIS information alpha out, advise on initial contact. You have information alpha.
Okay, we're just missing the last bit here and then we'll talk through it, right? So information alpha.
Shannon Airport ATIS information alpha 18.
Winds are 350 at 7.
Wind 350 at 7. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. 4,500 scattered. Ceiling 7,000 broken. Temperature 10. Dew point 1. QNH1017.
Okay, we'll chat about this now for a second, just to explain what's going on with the robot voice in our head, right? So, there's more buttons. We'll go through all the buttons now in a second. What a live ATIS is, they're giving us the area terminal or automatic terminal information service, right? Automated terminal information service. Basically what it's giving us the weather and also any special instructions about the current airfield that we're at, okay? So we're going to decode this. So he says information alpha, then it immediately goes into 1830 Zulu. That's telling you at what time that this ATIS is active for. The weather, well, the wind more importantly, right? So this should really be wind. Well, the wind is 350 at 7 knots. Right, so the wind is coming in from the north at about 7 knots, right? Visibility is 10 kilometers or greater. Cloud conditions, we have clouds at 4,500 feet scattered, and then we have a ceiling at 7,000 feet, which is broken, right? The temperature is 10 degrees Celsius, and the dew point is 1 degree, right? The QNH, that's your altimeter pressure, right? What's the barometric pressure? It's 1017. Over in Europe, we use QNH, and it's measured in hectopascals. And we'll go through that now in a second. The transition level for the airport, this is where Europe differs from the United States in most places. The default transition in America is usually 18,000 feet, flight level 180. Once you get to 18,000 feet, you automatically go onto a standard STD. You see it in most aircraft, standard altimeter settings. That's based on the transition level. Well, for Shannon, they're telling us, no, the standard, our transition level here is 6,000 feet. The active runway in use is runway 06, and it also has ILS capabilities. There's special instructions, we're being told. On initial contact, read back instructions, and you make sure that you change the QNH when you're told, because they want you to jump onto this, right? So if you have a listen.
Temperature 10, dew point 1, QNH1017, transition level, flight level 60, departure runway 06, expect IELS runway 06, Shannon is A-level bust hotspot, ensure altimeter set to HPA when instructed. Shannon Airport ATIS information alpha out, advise on initial contact. You have information alpha.
That's pretty cool. So if it's hard to read, the good thing is this entire thing is looped. It just stays there, which is deadly, right? It just keeps going. It just keeps going, right? So HBA, hectopascals, that's what they want us to read by. Just to be aware of that, right? So I'm connected to the VATSim network as an observer, which means I can listen in, which is super handy. Also meaning that, well, if there are any aircraft on the VATSim network in my vicinity, will I be able to see them? And if I tune into the correct frequencies, well, I'll be able to hear them, which is pretty cool. You can listen to other pilots when they're in range, right? But anyway, I just wanted to... Shannon is a hotspot. I just wanted to show you guys, because that's the first time we've actually had a chance to tune into live ATIS, right? So I'm going to disconnect, power down my radios, and calm it all down, because we're going to be jumping back into this shortly, just not yet, right? So pretty cool. So anyway, that was fun, wasn't it? Decoding an ATIS. And we need to figure out what that is and how do we do it. And what do all the little codes mean, right? So to start us off, lads, we have this virtual ATC ground document. I have scoured the interwebs to find the information, and I've put it all into one neat little package, right? That's what we're going to do. So we're going to have a read down through this. And as I said, the whole point of tonight, it's about revision. Let's catch up on any areas we haven't, you know, maybe we need a bit of extra practice, perhaps. Maybe there was areas that you guys weren't fully satisfied with, or, you know, you need a little bit more time with. And then our plan this evening, we're going to take off from Shannon and we're going to fly up to Connemara up in County Galway. That's the plan. We're going to do a flight on VATSim, or, you know, off VATSim. It's up to you. But we're going to be using the UNICOM channel. So if you connect to VATSim, well, you can talk to ATC. But because we're VF4, well, we monitor. We don't need any direct flight following or a radar service or a basic service. We don't need any of that stuff yet. All right. So if you haven't done any of this before, I highly, highly recommend you give it a blast. You can't go too wrong, right? Everything that's in this book is going to help you along step by step, right? It's just there to help you out. We also have a number of channels, voice channels. So that's all over on our Discord, right? Hang on now, I jump into one of them. Okay, so I'm just going to mute myself so I'm not broadcasting in there. But I'll show you this on Discord as well, right? And if we go into Discord, right? Hang on there a second now. Hang on there a second. It's very busy on Discord. Jesus, where do we go from here? Oh, it's over here, look. I found it, lads. It's all right. So, pilot ops, right? So, have a look at this, right? If I can find the page. Here we go. So this is our Discord, right? And if you've never been to Discord before, it's a free service. You can browse using your internet browser, right? Or you can download it as an app. You can go on your phone or a tablet. And you can also get Discord voice through your Xbox, which is really handy, which means you can actually communicate to us through your Xbox for doing these flights, right? Anyway, what we have here, the Discord link, all you need to do is jump on to our Discord, !Discord. That will give you a link. Click on the link and you ramble in. When you arrive at our page, you'll come to this arrivals page. It looks like this because it says arrivals. Welcome to arrivals. The very first thing you need to do is click on the start here. Once you have a read down through it, okay, welcome to the Two-Tone Murphy Discord server. In order to access the entire server, please acknowledge the rules by clicking on the shamrock. You see, we do things like that to beat Skynet. You see, well, anyway, it gives you a brief description of, well, who, what, where, when, and why. And rule number 1, it's the rule I live by. Don't be an idiot. Just don't be an idiot. There's only enough room here for one idiot. And the odd time Colonel Fork might, you know, but that's it. That's it. I'm the only idiot there is. And I'll be the idiot so you don't have to be. And by idiot, I mean, you know, an idiot, a fool, a dope, a muppet. Right. Anyway, there's all sorts of stuff happening. It didn't even get started yet. And do you know what's wonderful? Well, it's not really wonderful yet, but I have my fan on full whack with the door open, and it's positively freezing in here. And usually it's like 1,000 degrees, so I'm really, really happy. Anyway, what we need to do here, right? I'll disappear me. Don't worry, I'm still here. I'm talking to you from a different dimension. All you need to do is click on the shamrock down here, right? There's a little shamrock down here. When you click on that shamrock, which the whole place opens up, lads. You know, it's like walking into a supermarket, right? And then you open up your eyes and it's like, Jesus, where do we go from here? Have a browse. There's 2 ways to browse all the channels. You'll see that there's a button up the top that says browse channels, right? Click on that devil right there, and that gives you a full list of every channel that's active on our Discord. Also, an important note, the wonderful Alison Johnson and amazing Two Cats also share their Discord with us. So they have their own community Discord, and updates and bits and bobs, well, they live here as well. So do be sure to check them out. Anyway, what we need to do, we need to find the pilot ops. That's important. So you scroll down until you find pilot ops. And if you can't find it on the big screen, you'll find it on the little one on the side, look. There's like multiple categories, and inside each of the categories, you'll see all the different channels. And if you're using the browse function, it'll give you a description of what each channel does. What's, you know, the ATC course channel, lesson plans, reference material, and information is found here. Right, let's go. Bring me to this place, please. View the channel. Yeah, that's the one we want to look at. So it's in pilot ops, and we'll go into the ATC course. This is what it looks like. And we have tonight ATC Course Part 7, and this is all about a revision. Learning everything and going over everything we've already learned. So tonight we revise everything learned. I used to be a parrot, but I'm all right now. Call signs, voice procedure, navigation, METAR, charts, flight planning, flight filing. Huh? Yeah, you file it. And I don't mean file like you file it, right? And we also practice once again a flight on UNICOM. This lesson is for folks to hone in on their skills and also give a chance for anyone who may have missed a lesson or could do with a refresher, right? It'll be interesting tonight during our flying, as some pilots might decide, hey, I want to work on my circuit flying. I'm going to stay in the circuit. Okay. Other pilots will say, no, I'm going to ramble up to Connemara. Or for anyone who has been here and who has been having, they're getting along with it, the pace is good for them and they are learning, why not fly somewhere else from Shannon? Why don't you depart maybe to Cork or, Kerry, right? But I'll ask you, just be aware for any of the seasoned veterans or those who are moving along, just be aware of, the newer pilots having a go. So we can have a bit of crack and whatever later on with, Antonov's flying upside down and all this sort of jazz. But for the moment, just to be aware of other pilots. We want everyone to be able to depart Shannon safely. If they're doing circuits or the traffic pattern, keep plenty of space. Never pass anyone. Give people lots and lots of space. If you find that you're going to pass out someone, there are rules of the road, as it were, rules of the sky that apply, but always maintain that distance, that, separation. Basically, keeping a safe distance from other aircraft. When you fly online with ATC, you're mimicking, as close as possible, real-world procedures. It's not necessarily the place you want to go, to fly formation flying with your buddies, and, who can fly the fastest or who can get the plane into a forest, right? That's not the setup for this. When you're flying with online ATC, they mimic real-world procedures as best as they possibly can. As pilots, we're expected to do the same. Within reason. We can still have a bit of fun with it, right? So, if anyone has any questions or you'd like to focus on a particular topic, let me know. We have an ATC text chat here on Discord. I'll keep my eye on it. Or just let us know here on Twitch. Just let us know, right? And of course, all the previous parts, all the previous videos of each and every lesson, Gibbo, you absolute legend, they all now live on YouTube. So if you have, for whatever reason, you've missed a stream and you want to go back and see what lesson we did the previous week, they're all there, right? And even Gibbo edited them to get less of me talking like the way I do. I just sit here and, how are you? Right? So he's edited most of that out. It's just sticking with the content that we're learning. So all of those videos, every lesson so far, they're on our YouTube channel. Do be sure to check them out. So, are we ready? We'll start at the very beginning. This picture here, by the way, is a snapshot from, I think it's Euroscope, but essentially this is what ATC see of us. We see the beautiful scenery. We see the wonderful clouds. We see the gorgeous planes. We see all of that, and it's wonderful. The poor controller, right? He's in there, or they're in there, or she's, whatever. It doesn't matter who they are. The controller. Look at all of this on the screen. And they understand this more so than we would understand looking at the instruments inside our airplane. It's quite amazing what controllers can do, be it in the real world or indeed in the simulated world. Controllers they're on another level, man. They're really, really cool. And in a lot of places, they help out new pilots as well. But isn't it mad? That's what they see. So if you come up with a fancy livery, really going to impress ATC with this livery tonight. Would you look at the pinstripe lines? They won't have a clue. Well, they might, but they won't. They're going to be looking at this, right? So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to mention the voice channels. So down here in the pilot ops underneath, you'll see that I've set up UNICOM on 3 channels. The reason being is if it gets a little bit too crowded on any one server, we'll just change the region. So there's instructions. UNICOM on the A channel, so you see here, UNICOM, so it's A.UNICOM. That's for people flying on the Southeast Asian server within Microsoft Flight Simulator. The B.UNICOM is for the West USA, and the C.UNICOM is for East USA. Basically, it's to allow for, if we have a lot of people, we can filter them out. If you're experiencing stutters or issues on a particular server, we'll jump onto a different one. We have 3 options. This is open for our Xbox pilots and PC pilots. And all you need to do is just click on one of those channels and it'll automatically pop you in there. It's a little bit different in the plane, tuning up frequencies and all this. For the moment, this is the easiest way to do it. All right? Right, lads, we've now officially caught up with the chat and it's time to start. We've done the roll call, everyone is here, and we'll start off at the beginning. So this document is available over on the Discord, right? It's available over on the Discord. It's a free download, and I have scoured the internet to get the information in this. I've looked at VATSim, I've looked at everywhere you can find it. It's free. I've just put it all together in one handy document. Things that link to outside of the document, well, all the links on it are clickable, right? So we'll start off. We have the contents page number, the reference, but all of these links here on the left hand side, well, they are clickable. If you click it, it brings you to that area. The idea being is if you need to look something up when you're going to be flying, click on the link, it'll bring you to that page, right? Super handy, super handy, right? Play a bit of background music, right? So we'll go down through it. Introduction. Welcome to the virtual ATC ground school by, that fella. A document created by sharing some of the best online articles, training syllabus, real world procedures, aviation authority guidelines, and even some of my own real life experiences. There are many rules and regulations in place, but don't let that worry you. We're going to take this each stage, step by step. You might find yourself at the absolute entry level, or maybe you are already flying with ATC. This document is designed to help you take the first steps and also assist you with further information to increase your skills with all aspects of flying online, with any virtual network, for any flight simulator. Cool. There are many helpful sources online where you can learn the basics of flying, but taking things into the next level of realism, that can be a daunting experience. Mic fright, it's a real thing that many new and even some of the experienced folks can get. I remember my first experience, right? I was on Pilot Edge, and I remember sitting and waiting for about 10 minutes before I actually pressed the button. I was terrified, right? Right? Kanzu, yeah, it's like, what's that nighttime going to sleep app? That's what it is. Anyway, mic fright is a real thing, so it's not just you. If you feel a little bit nervous or apprehensive going, crap, sweating bullets, you'd be in a hoop, it's totally fine. I remember my first experience sitting, waiting to connect. This was followed by at least another 10 minutes sitting in total silence. Finally, I pressed the button and spoke my first words. Hello? Is it me you're looking for? And one thing I wish I had done, of course, was record it, because looking back, it's pretty funny, right? It gives you a good old giggle. But this course is designed to tackle that mic fright and properly prepare you to use ATC by providing you with the knowledge base required in a calm, straightforward, and most of all, fun learning environment. That's the hope. Before you know it, you'll be tuning into an ATIS frequency, requesting your clearance, reading it back, and then departing under complete air traffic control, as simple as turning on your PC. Well, almost. You might have a system like mine that sometimes require you to sing to it prior to powering up. Enya. I usually sing Enya to the PC. Anyway, flying with ATC can really help or can really take your flight simming experience to the next level. I love it. I don't do it an awful lot, but when I'm all up for an ATC flight, the experience that you get, right? You could be departing Dublin or, London or anywhere, right? And you're listening to a local accent, right? They're giving you the ATC, usually. And then you fly to somewhere like Spain or France or Italy, and then you hear another accent. It's amazing. That's like, holy crap, that's kind of cool, right? I love it. This document is designed to give you as much information as possible and use it as a kind of a guide if you ever need to jump back and do the thing and learn it, right? Now, on the bottom of every single page, on the left-hand side, you have this contents button. Click on that, it brings you back to the contents page, all right? So, how to use it? Well, it's to help you looking for the phrases that you need, information about, charts, METARs, all the jazz. That's how this document is used for. It's a companion. Keep it beside you, give it bread and water, but you keep it beside you if and when you need it. It's a PDF, portable document file, is it? I nearly remember, right? But keep it close by. If you ever need to read it, well, sure, it's here beside you. Keep it on your phone, keep it somewhere handy. The links are all working as well. Why do we want to fly online? Well, sure, listen, we know why, because it just enhances your experience. Some of the most immersive and, you know, cool experiences I've ever had in flight simming has been flying on VATSim. It's that level of the unknown, right? You're confident and competent with your flight plan and where you're flying and what the procedures are, but it's that element of, no, we need to hold you, enter a hold, or, you know, we need to divert you. And it's also listening into what other pilots are doing. It's a great experience. It really, really is. It may not be for everyone all of the time, but I promise you, once you start it, you're feeding the beast. You want to do more and more of it, all right? When it comes to our Xbox pilots, who unfortunately have no access to the online ATC networks listed below, at this moment in time, we have devised a plan to create some controlled airspaces within the sim that will be staffed with controllers via our Discord server. At the moment, we've had myself, we've had Epic Fool and Gibbo Ireland help us out as being ATC controllers. And when we're on Unicom, we're just chatting to each other. Any future events that we will be doing as part of a VATSim event for our community, we will also make sure that we have our Discord channels staffed up, giving you guys the chance to be able to use it. Xbox pilots are pilots too, right? We're all equal. Some are more equal than others. But anyway, just keep an eye on the Discord for any updates and announcements that we're going to do with this stuff. All right? So, online networks. Well, what are the online networks? On this document, I go through a few of them. VATSim, this is the one that we're going to really focusing on for the moment. There's over 100,000 users. It's a free service. It's global coverage to an extent. It depends if controllers staff up the areas during various times of the day. VATSim is probably, well, it is the most popular. You also have IVAO, another free platform, and there's no right or wrong platform here. It's whatever one you're most comfortable in. I would recommend VATSim only because it's busier, which means you have more traffic. IVAO is very, very good as well. There are some requirements, however, when you join these services, which are free, but you need to have a basic understanding, and there's also an orientation test that you have to complete. VATSim has one, IVAO has one, they all have one. Basically, these networks need to know that you have enough knowledge to start, right? And that could be down to, well, do you understand what a METAR is? Do you understand how the weather works? To an extent. Most of you guys, I think, have already tried or passed the VATSim orientation test. It's like 40 questions, I think, but it's good. It's good. And you can study, like it's not like they're trying to catch you off guard. They'll provide you with all the learning materials. There is a little bit of reading in it, but not much. So we've VATSim, we've IVAO, Pilot Edge. This is a paid service. Pilot Edge staffs up pretty much the West US, right? And it's a paid subscription, but they kind of give you dedicated controllers in that area, meaning that they have more coverage in areas than, say, VATSim would have. There's no massive delays or massive gaps in their service. That's what Pilot Edge does. There's a lot of real-world controllers working on Pilot Edge. It's a little bit more. There's 15 questions. Okay, there's 15 questions. There's a little bit more when it comes to your understanding of what you need to know prior to going onto Pilot Edge. They do have their own training and tutorial lessons, right? And if you were trying to justify the cost of Pilot Edge versus a flight lesson, for example, well, Pilot Edge for the year is less than 2 lessons flying. And you're going to learn a hell of a lot more using Pilot Edge than you will in 2 lessons of flying in the real world. That I promise you, right? So you can kind of, Anyway, last but not least is this network, our network, which is our Discord. That's how we're going to fly it, right? It's a free platform. We do have restricted coverage. Of course we do. We've no radar capabilities. We can't see it only other than visually. But we can talk to each other. That's half the battle, right? A basic understanding is required, and pilots must be able to use push to talk. That's important. We talk about mic fright. Well, the other thing is having what's called a hot mic. A hot mic means your microphone is on, it's transmitting, and you're talking about the weather and the curtains and, get me nails done. And meanwhile, you have controllers and pilots trying to fly, So push to talk, like a walkie-talkie. Do you remember a walkie-talkie? It's the same idea, right? Now, connectivity. How do we connect to these networks? Well, Discord is simple. We're already on Discord. If you want to jump onto VATSim, well, you're going to need something like vPilot, or if you use X-Plane, it's called X-Pilot. Essentially, it's its own little program, right? And it'll do everything for you. You just install it. Everything is for free. I use like an advanced version of vPilot because I have a streaming PC. Well, that's my streaming PC, and then I have what I call my gaming PC. My simulator runs on my gaming PC, but all my audio goes through my streaming PC. You can use vPilot in like a networked mode, a client mode, meaning that when I talk through one PC, it actually pushes it back into the other. You can do that sort of stuff. It's really, really cool. The program also needs FSUIPC or XPUIPC. It needs that add-on to work. But it's flawless. Doesn't have any issues, right? Anyway, and there's all links here where you can get it, right? vPilot and all this. So if you click on the link, it brings you to the vPilot website. Really handy. It's science, yeah, it's science. Then we have our Discord, and again, Gibbo did a great video here. If you're on Xbox, how can you connect your Xbox to the Discord voice channels? Super handy. And again, you just click on that picture, that brings you to the video where Gibbo has a chat. Next up, we have a look at our simulator and our sound settings. We need to make sure that our sim is set up correctly for flying with VATSim, and I'll cover the options for both PC and Xbox. So your flight conditions, your general options, and your sound options. These are important. You don't want the default Microsoft Flight Sim ATC talking in the background. November 235, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and while it's talking, it's quiet, right? You need to turn those off because you need to be listening to the actual VATSim voice, right? And then also turn off other traffic. You don't need other traffic, and I would turn off the ground aircraft density, because you don't want the AI popping up aircraft. You want to see what the actual VATSim stuff is doing, right? Model matching. It's not a requirement, but it is recommended. Now, model matching, it's funny that we're talking about model matching, but essentially for your client, vPilot or XPilot, you need to tell the thing model matching. Hey, if such an aircraft appears if it appears on the network, well, how does my sim know what it is? It needs to have some sort of model matching, right? So in order to get model matching, there are some settings here. FSLTL, which is free and brilliant, they have their own VATSim model matching file. The same can be said for Just Flight's FS traffic. They do their own job. You can grab those files and, well, if you have a look there, it'll show you how you add it to it. There is a model matching gadget and you can click it in, all right? Just going back to the other thing, test your mic and headphones, allocate. There is also a solution for dual PCs via FSUIPC. Sorry, yeah. Just on a point of clarification, you don't need FSUIPC to run vPilot, right? However, if you're going to use vPilot on a dual system that I have, you'll need an FSUIPC because that transmits buttons to buttons. I should have been clear on that. But yes, Tim Dog, you are quite right. Just to be clear on that. All right. Anyway, so that's the model matching. So, you know, we've had a look at model matching. Too bad the Asoba one doesn't do... Well, it's hard to blame Asoba. They just have a very defined code. If you're this, I'll display that. The problem is they didn't tell anyone else what the code is, right? So even when you have a livery that's different, Asoba doesn't know what it is. Therefore, if you're flying, you know, for example, in an F-14, well, Asoba's just going to say, well, you're fast and you've engines and you're a jet. You're an A317. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but that's what we've built. Well, it shows you something very, very different, right? Anyway, next up we have our references, abbreviations. There are loads of abbreviations. RTFM, PP, and so on. We need to know what these are. Now, you're not expected to know everything, but if you come across anything, be it on a flight plan, on a chart, or if you're reading information about an aerodrome, and you might find, hey, I don't know, what the deuce? What does that mean? Well, they're broken down here. I've picked the most popular ones. There are many I probably don't have included, right? AJH is definitely one to add to the list, Maddie. Yes. If I haven't included some, or if anyone would like, you know, do a gap analysis and say, hey, Murph, add these ones, drop me a Discord and I'll put them in, right? I'll put them in. So as we move on, after all the abbreviations, the phonetic alphabet. This is like a language that's spoken using ATC, the International Phonetic Alphabet. What do we mean by phonetic alphabet? Well, we need to sound out what we're trying to say. There are a number of letters and, you know, numbers that sound very, very similar. For example, if I were to say 5, well, 5 sounds like live, hive, jive. You get the idea, right? 9, line, fine, whatever, right? So you have to sound out the words. A spelling alphabet is used to spell parts of a message containing letters and numbers to avoid confusion, because many letters sound similar. N and M, F and S. The potential for confusion increases if static or other interference is present. For instance, the message proceed to map grid DH98 could be transmitted as proceed to map grid Delta Hotel 9H using Delta. Note that the D, you don't say D, you revert to Delta. And there's a way of how to say some of these words. People have different accents, right? If I were to say November 235 Romeo Mike, or if I were to say on November 235 Romeo Mike, doesn't matter what accent you use, you can get it because it's phonetic. Do you get me? That makes sense? Yeah. Anyway, moving on. I've broken down the phonetic alphabet and you can see what the character is. And for good measure, I've also included Morse code. And the reason why I've put in Morse code, you need to get familiar with what it is. Not necessarily knowing what every single, dash or dot means. But a little bit later on, when we're going to be flying by VOR and tuning our radios into a VOR frequency, we'll need to know what a dash is versus a dot. Dot or a dash. And so on and so on. You don't need to learn every single one of them. However, I will say this. If you have a look at the telephony or the radio telephony, A means alpha, or the phonetic pronunciation alpha. Does that make sense? Right? Or, B is bravo or bravo. The number 5, for example, is pronounced as fife. Not 5, but fife. Right? You get the idea. Zulu is Zulu. Yankee. X-ray. You get the idea. It's very important you overemphasize on your pronunciation when in ATC, because the controllers, they tend to be busy. They'll give you instructions relatively fast, right? You can ask them to slow down or say again. They're going to know if you're new, so don't worry. But when you're receiving information, that's one thing. When you need to transmit information, well, don't make their life awkward either, So just be very clear on your pronunciation. It's also referred to as your telephone voice, for which Gibbo Ireland speaks very well when he uses his telephone voice. You see, my dad calls it a boat voice. He's a boat voice. Hello, hello. They kind of sound like, Dublin 4. But anyway, that's where all that lives. So our first lesson that we did, it was a radio check. A radio check, yeah, we want to make sure that our equipment is working and that we can hear and be heard, right? So, for every flight you do on VATSim, a radio check is not required. It's not even advised, because radio check, you don't want to be doing radio checks all day. Once you know your equipment is working and you can test that using your vPilot client, you can test it using your Windows settings, that's all grand, right? However, the idea behind this was the very first thing, if you only do one thing over the next week and for the very first time you're going to speak to a controller, well, this is what you need to do. To call ATC for a radio check, there is a flow to follow, which will be explained below. ATC will assess the transmission quality using the readability scale. Okay, so for example, if we wanted to do a radio test in Shannon, right, because we're currently in Shannon, we'd have our radio on, we would tune into the appropriate ATC frequency, and when we're ready, we transmit the following. And this entire document, by the way, it's color coded. It'll say pilot, that's what you say, and then it'll be ATC, that's what they should say, or probably will say. You get the idea. Word for word, it'll vary depending on what facility you go to. Some controllers differ, some regions differ, but if you follow this, you will get a foundation knowledge base to be able to build upon that. The best way, if you want to fly at another facility, will jump onto VATSim, have a listen to them as an observer, and you'll start picking up how they're you'll pick up their phraseology a little bit quicker than just jumping in. It's okay, like jump on for 5 or 10 minutes. Anyway, this is what it would sound like. A call sign, I want to pick my call sign, right? And, when it comes to picking a call sign, You can do a Google for it. They tend to be region-based. They tend to be following the aircraft registration number, especially if they're general aviation, small little planes, yeah? The commercial aircraft, well, their call signs tend to be that of the airline. For example, you would have Aer Lingus. Well, they're known as Shamrock on the ICAO call signs. British Airways are known as Speedbird. American Airlines are known as Eagle, I think, right? So you have all these different call signs. We're in our small little GA aircraft, and depending on the country that you're at, in which you can check out all the registration numbers for whatever country, some of them in Ireland would start off with Echo India. In the UK, they'd start off with Golf, Dash, right? In America, they'd start off with November, followed by a number or numbers, and then a letter. In Ireland, a lot of our aircraft would be Echo India and then 3 digits or 3 letters. That's usually the case. In England, it's Golf and then a couple of letters. In Canada, it's Charlie. You get the idea, right? So have a look at some of them. American is American. Oh, yeah. What's Eagle? What was Eagle again? Eagle. American is known as American. Eagle is one of the regions for American. There you go. See? Consider myself corrected sitting in my chair. But you know what I mean? They've all different call signs, and you can look up the different call signs. You'll hear them on VATSim anyway. So what I've done here, I've chosen my call sign. So Echo India, because I'm in Ireland, Tango Tango Mike. That's my aircraft registration number that I'm going to use in the sim. If you have a look at it here in the sim, well, you'll see a big, happy-go-lucky Echo India Tango Tango Mike. That's me call sign, right? That's me call sign, right? So, what am I doing? I pressed the wrong button. Have a listen to this and see what you think, right? Australia is Oscar Echo. There you go. There you go. So I'd be tuning in here, and I'll say, for example, I'll say this thing. So I'll say, Shannon Ground, Echo India Tango Tango Mike. So you'll start off by saying the facility name. In this case, it's going to be Shannon Ground, and it's followed by your call sign. Fair enough. What's going to happen next? Echo India Tango Tango Mike, Shannon Ground, pass your message. Ooh. The controller will respond by addressing you by your call sign. And again, this is what's important. If your name is Bob, and I go over there and I say, Sally, come here to me, Sally. Your name is Bob, right? You need to pick something that you're going to recognize instantly, right? What's KLM, Murph? ABC, give up. ABC. Tulips. They're a cross-pollination of tulips and daisies. I call them to daisies. You need to pick a call sign that is very, very familiar. Your ears will pick it up quick, yeah? So the controller will respond by addressing you by your call sign, followed by, this is followed with identifying who they are, Shannon Ground, and then the instructions. So the controller said, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, that's me. Shannon Ground, that's them. Pass your message. What do you want, right? We now go back to them. So we'll say Echo India Tango Tango Mike, radio check 121.8. Next, we repeat your call sign, because if we don't tell them who we are, so they're going to, who's that, right? So we repeat our call sign followed by radio check. We also include the frequency that you're tuned and transmitting on. In this case, 121.8, which will sound as 121 decimal H. Now, you get the idea. You have to sound out the words, right? Anyway, wait to hear this. Echo India Tango Tango Mike, readability 5. The controller will respond to your call sign followed by the readability score. In this case, it's 5. It sounds as 5. We can now confirm that. Readability 5 also, Echo India Tango Tango Mike. We confirm and respond giving the controller a readability score. In this case, it's 5. The readability scale that ATC use is as follows. Readability 1, it's no response or unreadable. Readability 2, it's now and then. Readability 3, it's difficult. Readability 4, we can hear you. Readability 5, yeah, you're perfect, right? You're perfect. So the very first thing to do on VATSim, if you know, the very first time you want to press a button, I would highly recommend do a radio check. Just do a radio check. That's all you need to do, right? So now, do I still have ATC? Let's have a listen, right? This mightn't work now, but sure, we'll see. We'll see, can we get a live answer? Give it a second. The lads are probably gone offline.
Hello there.
Oh, it's Shannon Center. Okay, right. So watch this now, right? So if I turn on my radio, let's have a listen, right? They may or may not give me a radio check. All I can say is no.
Dreamy, sleepy, nighty, snoozy, snooze.
That was terrifying. Shannon said it's still on. P. Costa, it's available on our Discord, my guy. It's on our Discord. So if we have a look at this document, right? Have a look at this. So we're going to say, now we'll see what happens. Now they could get ticked with us, but sure, we'll ask the question, right? Hang on now. Where's this now? We'll give it a second. Give it a second. So radio's coming up. Okay, that. Okay, that. So what I need to do, I need to tune into 131.150. That's the frequency that Shannon Center is on. 131.150. Okay? 150. Now we jump on and we listen. We make sure that there's nothing else there.
5-1, Juliet X-ray, call you back for descent. About 30 seconds.
So that's live ATC here in Shannon, all right? So we'll have a listen here, right? So we'll do the whole thing. Line by line, let's see what happens, okay? So it's Shannon Center. It's not Shannon Ground, Shannon Center. Shannon Center, Echo India, Tango Tango Mike.
Echo India, Tango Tango Mike. Shannon, go ahead.
Echo India, Tango Tango Mike, radio check on 131.150.
Echo India, Tango Tango Mike. Shannon, Redu 5.
Readability 5 also. Thank you. Echo India, Tango Tango Mike. And that's it.
Shannon, hello. Blue Max 56, Tango Delta, flightable 2.
Right, they're busy. We'll leave them alone for a minute. But we get the idea, lads, right? So that was live on VATSim saying... That's going to be the ATIS. That's live on VATSim. Like, to do a radio check, the point of doing a radio check, you're making sure that, number one, you're readable. Two, you're receivable, right? So you want to make sure that you can A, transmit, and B, receive. That's all it is. You know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily need to do radio checks all the time. In fact, you don't need to do them really at all. As Skep is saying, I mean, if you connect and you hear the controller, you talk, and they talk back to you, there is no need to do a radio check. But the point of this is for, to learn, and for the very first time to press the button, do a radio check. It's relatively easy. You can't do much wrong. You don't need to focus on flying. For this, it's purely, this is a radio check. That's what we want to do. It's following a procedure. That's all. And it means then that, for some people, you now have broken the ice of being able to say, I spoke to a controller today and they spoke back to me. You know what I mean? That's all. Anyway, moving on. The readability score, uncertainty in communication. This is important. This is like very, very important. If you aren't sure if ATC is calling you on the frequency, or someone has a call sign very close to yours, or if you genuinely can't understand what's been said to you, it's more than okay to ask the controller, say again. Say again. Now, you don't have to be abrupt, but the idea is you want to keep your communication, to the point. Small, concise, and effective. It doesn't need to be an essay. Would you mind please telling me a thing with the yoke? So, uncertainty in communication, say again. If you don't understand what they've said to you, say again. If they're speaking too fast, you could say again slowly. If you're really struggling, you can bring up your pilot client, your vPilot, and you can actually send a direct message by text to that controller if you're stuck. But at that stage, either they have a problem, which is unlikely because they're a controller, or maybe you have a problem because you can't hear them. Okay, we continue. Uncertainty in communication. That's all we need to do. Say again. If your entire session is...
Allow myself to introduce...
Myself.
Myself.
If you find that you keep having to say again, say again, say again, chances are the problem's on your side. So just bear that in mind, all right? So charts, we move on. Briefly, we'll cover charts because we're going to spend a lot of time later on figuring out charts. We need charts. We need the reference information to the aerodromes we're flying to and from. And we also need charts that'll explain the route. They'll show us if there's any restrictions or any airspaces or any of that jazz. We need to know what charts are. We can get charts freely online, or you can get them through Navigraph. My preference will be Navigraph. It is a paid subscription, right? We then talk about different chart types. You have different charts for VF4 and different charts for IF4. And, you know, we don't need to read through all of this. You have reference charts, ground charts, different ones, SIDS, stars, all that sort of jazz. Just be aware there are different types of charts. Once we get more into the IF4 stuff, well, you'll know what the crack is. You'll need your airport chart. You're going to need your departure, what you need en route, your approach, arrivals, all that jazz. All right? You use charts, again, I highly recommend something like a Navigraph because it'll actually locate your aircraft flying along. You'll actually see where you are on a map. That's really handy. You can use other programs like ChartFox, or you could go back in the olden days of using, wait for it, ye old OSM aeronautical charts, which you can use. You can actually use these in the sim. Particularly, you can use these in Microsoft Flight Simulator because it has VF4 capabilities out of the box. That's really handy. So if you're flying along, especially with VF4, and I highly recommend you guys do this, try use a chart and just fly along with it. So handy. You know what I mean? So you can do that, but just be aware there are many charts. Next up, we have our ATIS. We started off tonight listening to an ATIS. It's an automated terminal information service. It's a message to pilots recorded by air traffic controllers, or they use, a bot. It broadcasts on a specific, very high frequency radio, and the message contains all the essential information about the airport operations that a pilot might need to know. Now, if you're on VATSim, a lot of the time you'll have ATIS for the major airports in that region that are staffed. A lot of the time you will. However, you may not. They may not have ATIS information. Or if you're flying from uncontrolled airports, then you would have a look at the METAR, right? The forecast or the current weather. That's what you'd be checking out. So a METAR is the current weather. A TAF is going to be a forecast. You need to know what the weather is doing, where you're leaving, where you're getting to, and how you're getting there. You need to know what the weather is doing, especially for VF4. Why? Because, well, we need to be able to see what we're doing. We can't fly in the clouds and we can't see what we're doing, right? So, moving on, lads, moving on. There's a whole load of information what ATIS will provide. And if you have a look at it here, this is what we were getting from VATSim. We had information alpha. The winds were 350 at 7. Visibility was 10 kilometers. Cloud condition was 4,500 feet with scattered clouds. The ceiling was at 7,000, broken. Temperature was 10 degrees. Dew point was 1. Our QNH 1017. Transition altitude 6,000. And runway 06 was in use. There were also the notes, read back all instructions and be prepared to use HPA or HPG, hectopascals, when required. All right? Don't get too worried up on the notes yet. Read back all instructions. That's important. So they're asking you, the controller is you must read back all instructions just so they know you're doing what they're asking you to do. All right? So how often is ATIS updated? Usually every hour. Right, at least it says here, ATIS information usually updated during the last 10 minutes of every hour. If any critical piece of information changes, the controllers can update the ATIS at any point they need to. And you might hear that on frequency. You might hear a controller coming on and saying, all stations, please be advised, information Bravo is now current, or something like that. Or when you're calling for clearance or whatever, they'll just say information Bravo is now current, and you have Alpha. I need to dial it back. Usually the letters always follow each other. So if you get Charlie, well, the next code you'll hear in the next hour will be Delta, just to be aware of that. All right. Moving on. So we have ATIS versus AWOS. It doesn't explains between both. You also have DATIS for a lot more of the modern aircraft. They come up with a text message of what the ATIS is. And then even in the real world, you can actually send a message to get an ATIS at an airport and it texts you back. Super, right? Then you have a whole load of abbreviations when it comes to ATIS as well, because there's a whole load of letters, and well, what do they mean, right? Well, this has it. This will tell you. BKN is broken. Types of clouds, clear. You might have CAV OK, right? You might have, for example, here Here's always a good one, or A, right? So you might see a METAR and there's or A in it. That means it's raining, and so on and so on, right? So that's where all they are. You also have a few other ones here. Ceiling and visibility unlimited. Rarely see that. You might see BECMG, becoming. You'll definitely get that in a TAF, in a forecast, right? It's going to become more windy or become cloudy. Anyway, have a read through them. Again, you don't necessarily need to know all of these off by heart. You're going to get used to the ones that come up all the time. You're going to see them over and over. You'll get used to them. But you have this document here to help you along the way. That'll help you out where you're at. All right? Everything's making noises. METARs. So a METAR, a weather METAR, is a crucial asset to pilots when flying. METAR stands for Meteorological Aerodrome Report. Okay, a weather report. METARs give pilots the latest weather information for an aerodrome in a very special format. They give you a raw code. Now, it can be a little bit difficult when you see these for the first time. It'll start off with the airport identifier, in this case, Shannon. It'll give you the day of the month and the time, Zulu, which this METAR was created. Then it goes with the wind, 010, so 01005 KT. That means you have three numbers for the degrees. Okay, so it's coming in from 010. And then you have two digits, usually, for the speed, 5 knots. Okay, this 9999 means that your visibility is greater than 10. It's 10 kilometers. Could be statute miles as well, depending on your location. The cloud conditions, few at 1,500, broken at 3,300. The next two then are to do with the temperature and the dew point. Dew point, of course, is the temperature in which water freezes. Q1036 is the QNH or altimeter setting. And then a remark. No sig means no significant change. Or it could be becoming or a. It's going to rain. Anyway, this bit of information down here is going to give you the breakdown. First up, the type of report, the station, date and time, the modifier, wind, visibility, weather, sky condition, temperature and dew point, altimeter setting, and then remarks. So it explains to you what it is. All right, cool. Then we talk about TAF. That's a terminal aerodrome forecast. It's like a METAR, but it's just going to tell you what's due to happen. It's a forecast. Now, the forecasts are a little bit different, only because, well, there's a lot more information with them. And they work off a probability scale. It's a forecast. We don't know exactly. We think this is going to happen. So you would look at, there's a chance of this. So where you see like prob and then a number, well, probability is 30%. Okay. Temporarily, date and time that we think it'll happen, the visibility and the cloud coverage. And if there was rain and so on. Yeah. Have a read down through it. I explained it underneath each one, what they break down. A lot of the time when we're doing our flight planning, you're going to have TAFs. You're going to be looking at what the forecast is en route and also when you land. So if you're taking off at 8 o'clock in the morning and you've planned your flight to last 2 hours, well, the METAR is no use to you at the destination airport. It's a nice to know, but you need the TAF. What is the weather going to be doing when I get there? Because if you suddenly get there and you haven't figured out what the weather is doing, well, you mightn't get into the airport. Your aircraft mightn't be able to handle the winds, for example, or it's no longer VFR, right? So there's all these things to consider. Anyway, then we have the information, and that's what we heard at the start. Information alpha or information bravo. The number changes for the ATIS, so information, that's important, all right? Next up then, it's all to do with airspaces. There are slight differences, well, not really slight, but there are differences between, US airspaces and, bit of Canada and so on, North America basically. Their airspace varies differently than what we have over here, which would be EASA or ICAO. It varies differently. However, don't worry about it for the moment. There are many similarities. There's a couple of different rules applied, but don't worry about that at the moment. We're going to focus on European flying for now, but we will transition to US flying. And when we move on to the US flying, that's when we'll focus on these changes. Just to make yourselves aware that the air is controlled by different classes of airspace. That's all. That's all you need to know for now. There are different classes of airspace that control how the whole thing works in the air. There's certain classes of airspace that a certain aircraft or aircraft type or flight type is just not allowed to go in. The reason being is there's more traffic, it's faster, it's bigger, it's too busy, so on and so forth. But we'll learn about that moving on, right? So, it explains different airspaces. It gives you an idea with all these wonderful pictures. It gives you boundaries. It gives you rules for entering different types, right? So have a read down through it. Again, don't worry too much about, what was question 17.1? You don't need to worry about that too much. But it is important that you are aware. If you're going to enter a certain airspace on a flight plan, well, you can just run up here and say, hey, what do I need? This is Class Charlie. What do I need? Class Charlie is a type of airspace class that surrounds other large airports. Okay. Well, what do I need? Flight rules. To enter Class Charlie, the pilot must establish two-way radio contact. Okay. A Mode C transponder with ADS-B is required. Well, Mode C, if you're on VATSim, you're grand. It's Mode A and C, so you're laughing, right? Class C airspace. Pilots of all ratings may operate within Class C. The speed limit of Class Charlie airspace is 200 knots. Okay, so those are all rules. Cloud clearance and visibility requirements. If you're under VFR conditions, pilots must have visibility of at least 3 square miles, or statute miles or square miles? I can do it. Square miles? You need 3 miles visibility with a ceiling of at least 1,000 feet in any direction. All right. There's rules here. You can have a read about them. But when we start planning our flight, statute, thanks Dougal, when you start planning your flight plans and when you're going to be entering airspace or you're going to plan to enter airspace, you have to ask permission. We need to know what rules apply to us. But we'll do that later on when we're planning more interesting flights, if you want to put it that way, as in interesting flights. If you want to plan more kind of head-scratching moments, which are always fun to do, right? We'll have a look at it then, all right? So it goes down through all the classes. Then we talk about the differences of special use airspace. Special airspace, yeah. You have prohibited areas. You have restricted areas, right? You have warning areas. In Ireland, we don't have too many warning areas. We used to a couple of years ago when, the Air Defence were firing the guns for training. They'd have to close off a bit of North Dublin airspace. Or, over key areas, warning or danger areas in Europe tend to be a little bit different than the MOAs that you have in America. They'll just put it in as danger or warning. Sometimes they put it in as an MOA, which is military operation areas, but more times than not, it'll just be danger. All right? So, alert areas. They're depicted by the section with an A following with a number. Example, Alpha 211. In these areas, high volumes of flight training or other activities are conducted, so pilots entering alert areas must remain alert. Okay? It explains what everything is, all right? CFAs, again, it's rare you'd see those anywhere around Ireland. They'd more than likely have like danger or something there. For example, when the President of America was over the other day, there was TFRs all over the shop, temporary flight restrictions. You weren't allowed to fly into certain areas. Same thing, right? So all the conclusions. Then we talk about ICAO Europe, the ICAO, or the ICAO, ICAO we call it, right? It is the International Civil Aviation Organization. It's the body responsible for setting the standards and recommended practices for aviation across the globe. Now, a lot of the ICAO stuff is actually now going into North America, but they still differ. Anyway, we talk about the different types of airspace when you're flying under ICAO conditions under EASA, the European stuff, right? Don't need to worry about it too much. Then we move on to ground operations. What do I mean by ground operations? Well, we have ATC stations. There's different ATC. You might have heard when I just did that, I had to contact a center because, well, VATSim operate a top-down approach. So whoever's on the top looks after everyone else beneath if there's nothing else there. If you jump onto ground, well, you control ground down, nothing else, maybe clearance. If you're on tower, you're looking after tower, ground, and clearance, right? And so on. It's a top-down. There's a graph here. I'll show you. It's just to give you an idea of all the different stations that you can tune into with ATC. Now, the traffic circuit. This was VFR lesson 3, flying in a traffic circuit. So we've learned all about the different types of airspace and, charts and what we need to do and how to do it, and the different people we need to talk to, or the station, for example, ground, tower, so on and so forth. The next bit then was the traffic circuit. This is also known as the traffic pattern. Essentially, most, not all, airports have a traffic circuit, right, that allow for VFR circuits. Some airports don't allow it. In actual fact, I don't think Dublin allow it anymore, right? Anyway, 2 things to note about a traffic circuit. Rule number 1, always read the chart. It'll give you the information that you need. It'll indicate traffic altitude or circuit altitude, and it'll also tell you the direction. Some airports would have, most I would say, would be a left-hand circuit. Left-hand traffic. You take off, you go to the left-hand side. However, some airports have a right-hand circuit. It's at ATC discretion if you request a right-hand circuit or not. Sometimes you can ask for it during training if the airspace is quiet and so on and so on. But a lot of the time it goes untight. A lot of the time it's to the left, all right? There are a number of different legs. These areas, if you like, they're given a name. The legs are given a name. So you can identify where you are on the circuit. It makes sense, right? So you have what's known as the start point, your takeoff or departure leg. It's basically runway heading where you're taking off. Once you get to about 500 feet, you turn left. That's your first turn. And as you turn left, when you're crossing from the runway, that's known as the crosswind. We always take off into the wind as best we can. So you're now crosswind. You're flying across. Okay. Then you do another left turn at around 1,000 feet. You're now on what's called the downwind leg. It makes sense. Crosswind, downwind, or down the wind. The wind is taking us with us, or with it, yeah? The wind is behind us. It's known as the downwind leg. And you'll know that this would be the downwind for whatever this runway was here. Then we turn base leg. It's not called cross, we call it base. Base because we're at the bottom of the runway in which we want to do something with, land or otherwise. The base leg. And then we turn again and it's called final. You need to know these, lads. You need to spend a bit of time and know where the crosswind, the downwind, the base, and the final. Because these are where you're going to report your position, or this is where ATC is going to ask you to report from. Contact me on the downwind. Contact me on final. So you need to know these areas. So you have final, cross, down, and base. Learn them, all right? As best you can. Then we talk about how to join a circuit, overhead joins, downwind join, so on. We'll focus that on a different lesson. There are ways in which you can join a circuit. And a lot of time when we're going to fly VFR, you'll see it as we do it, all right? So, each leg of the pattern, we explain it all here in the book. Then the startup, it's common for VFR aircraft to request a startup instead of a clearance. That happens a lot over here, especially at a controlled airport. At an uncontrolled airport, you don't need to ask for startup. Sure, no one's going to tell you. It's uncontrolled, right? But anyway, take this one step by step. The first scenario is we have ATC active. The second scenario, there is no AT active. So just spend a bit of time with this. So what do we need to do with starting up? It's not just for VFR. Well, IFR, some differences. For example, over here you get push and start. You request start, request push. Right? Push and start approve. Contact me when ready to taxi. It differs between here and the United States. IFR flights controlled from aerodromes must request a startup as they may be slot restricted. As in, you're not allowed to fly. You don't have IFR clearance, so call me back when you're ready to start. That sort of stuff. All right? Again, don't let all this bog you down. It's just to be aware, hey, am I allowed to start my engines now? Right? There's a bit of that. All right? This is the top-down approach when we're talking about VATSim. This is how it works. Controllers are trained and approved to work positions, starting with clearance delivery and moving up. Clearance delivery, well, that's where you get your clearance from. We need clearance, Clarence. This is where you get it all from. So if you're requesting some sort of a clearance or permission to do something, that's the first point of contact. Next up, you'd have ground, then you'd have tower, then you'd have approach, then you'd have center. Now, SCEP did show something different in Switzerland. There was a little bit different, as in I think it was, depending on what's happening and if there's VATSim controllers under instruction or they're being tested, you might see an additional channel open up. A lot of the time, there'll be an OTAN published for VATSim, right? But anyway, if there was only clearance delivery, well, that's it. We can only talk to them, no one else. If there was tower and no ground and no clearance delivery, well, tower will look after everything for us. The center, which I contacted there a few minutes ago, the only Shannon frequency that was available in the entire region I wanted to fly, he was the center. So he controls center, approach, tower, ground, and clearance. He looks after the whole shebang. It's a top down, yeah? So, for example, here's a question. If tower and approach and center were online and you're on the ground, which frequency will you contact? So tower, approach, and center, they're all online. You're on the ground and you want permission to start or get your clearance. Who do you talk to? Do you talk to the tower? Do you talk to the approach? Or do you talk to the center? Tower, approach, and center, the three of them are online. Who do you talk to? Some streamers are outraged at having to request start. Yeah, you talk to the tower. So just be aware that with VATSim, it's a top down. Like, for example, if you went straight to center, hey, Shannon Center, you know, I want to request a startup, they'll probably tell you, contact ground or contact tower. They'll tell you where the other controller is. But just be aware of that. That'll show up on vPilot. It'll tell you who's on. You can see it. And if you look at it, you can't see it on the other screen. I can show you here, look. Close that for a minute. And just open vPilot. When you connect in, see the way this all here is. You've center, approach, tower, ground, clearance, ATIS observers. See the way this is the top down. They're actually showing you here on this. It's a top down, right? Gibbo has a question. If center is just online, would he bother making you change frequencies for ground services? No. Because there is no one on ground. There's no one on ground. So if there's no one staffing the ground frequency, there's no point you tuning into ground. There's no one on it. You know what I mean? So if you only have center, well, you talk to center at that airfield or at that area. And again, you'd be looking at the coverage. You can check it out on Volanta, you can check it out on VATSim, and so on and so forth, right? You get nothing at the moment. Yeah, I can see that, Epic. Yeah, thanks, dude. Like, for example, if tower was online and you were flying into airspace and there's no center, approach, or otherwise, and you're on UNICOM, but you're going to fly in, well, he's the tower of that airport. Airspace, you don't need it unless you're like going to that tower. You don't need it. You only contact the person where you have it. Change frequencies just to talk to him again for ground stuff. Change frequencies just to talk to him again for ground stuff. Yeah, no. Again, you would, if there's only center online, you stay with that. You stay with them because they are the top down, right? They are the top down. In some cases, they might have the ground. They might have tower staffed up, but it'll show you on this. It'll show you where the tower frequencies are. For example, the controller might be on center and ground, center and tower, but unless it shows on vPilot that a tower is active or anything is active, unless it shows up on this screen in the controllers, there's no point tuning into them. They won't hear you. You only tune into where they're active. I hope that makes sense. So that's the top-down approach. Then we talk about the taxiing, takeoff, circuit flying goes into it again. Then we have a chart of Shannon, just to explain. These are charts. We need these. We need this information. It's vital we have this information. We need to know the area we fly in and out of, right? Then we had our second lesson. That was putting the whole thing together. We started off with obtaining our ATIS. Then we contacted Shannon ATC and we request a clearance for them. And we moved on then to an engine startup. We then called, we're ready to taxi. We then taxied, and then we went to our departure. And we were flying circuits. We did 3 circuits. The first time was a touch and go. Continue on. The second one was another touch and go. We continued on. And then the third time we were going in for a full stop landing. We don't say land, we say full stop. But again, if you follow this line by line, this is telling you exactly what it is you need to do, what to say and how to say it. So for example, if we have grabbed our ATIS from Shannon, and let's just say it's information Bravo, right? So we complete our pre-flight checks, turn on the battery of the radios using the inbuilt ATC. That's where we were getting our ATIS from. Once we have our ATIS, we'll tune into Shannon ground 121.8, and we transmit the following. Now, these details will differ depending on your call sign, the information of the weather, and so on. But it would sound a little bit something like this. Shannon ground, Echo India Tango Tango Mike. Echo India Tango Tango Mike, Shannon ground, pass your message. Echo India Tango Tango Mike is a Cessna 172 at General Aviation Parking with information Bravo, request VIA4 circuits and engine start. Echo India Tango Tango Mike, you are approved for VIA4 circuits and engine start. Squawk VFR, active runway is 06. QNH 1011, call for taxi. Approved for VFR circuits and engine start. Squawk VFR, active runway is 06. QNH 1011, Echo India, Tango Tango Mike. It's only when you start reading it over and over, you can actually, it's quite similar. It's almost predictable, right? So I wanted to fly VFR circuits and I wanted to start my engine. You might say to yourself, how do I tell the controller what it is I want to do and make some sense about it? I want to fly, right? You know what I mean? So you try and break it down and keep it as simple as you can. Keep it simple as best you can. Less is more, but you just got to make sure, you know, who are you? What are you? Where are you? What's your information? And what do you want? Okay. That repeats itself on and on and on. So once we get that bit of information, we've been approved for engine start and we have to call for taxi. Okay. So we start up our engines, we check temperatures and pressures. We're ready to move out now, right? So we call them back. Echo India Tango Tango Mike, general aviation parking, ready to taxi. Echo India Tango Tango Mike, taxi via the apron and Alpha, hold short runway 06. Taxi via the apron and Alpha, hold short runway 06. Echo India Tango Tango Mike. So we just now got a taxi instruction. We've been told how to proceed to the runway. Okay, we're going to taxi via the apron. Where's the apron? You look at your chart, it'll show you. A. Taxi A. He didn't say A, he said Alpha. Remember, phonetics. Alpha. Okay, I got a taxi across the apron and Alpha, and we got to hold short runway 06. Hold short means hold before you get there. You'll see there's a hold short line. It's on your charts as well. So we then taxi our aircraft, and there's a couple of pointers there on what to do. Then we arrive at the hold short. We're at the hold short, and it's time to talk back. So we'll go Echo India Tango Tango Mike, holding short runway 06 at Alpha. Echo India Tango Tango Mike, contact tower on 118.7. Contact tower 118.7, Echo India Tango Tango Mike. Sweet. Now we get on to departure. Now we're on to the tower frequency. So we jump on. We say Shannon Tower, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, holding short runway 06 at Alpha, ready to copy. Echo India Tango Tango Mike, hold position. After departure, runway 06, you are cleared for left-hand circuits, not above altitude 1,500 feet, VFR. QNH 1011. Hold position. After departure, runway 06, cleared for left-hand circuits, not above altitude 1,500 feet, VFR. QNH 1011. Echo India Tango Tango Mike, correct. Surface wind 0506 knots, runway 06, cleared for takeoff, and report downwind. Cleared for takeoff, runway 06, report downwind. Echo India Tango Tango Mike. The more you hear it, the more sense it makes to you, the more predictable it gets to you. It's a, you know, it's the voice procedure. It's the radio telephony of speaking with ATC. All right. Don't let it overwhelm you. Again, everything that's written here, if you follow this, even practice reading it out to yourself, you're going to start picking things up pretty quick. I promise you that. Even if you're just sitting at home on your own without the sim, just read these lines out to yourself. Then jump into the sim, offline, fly, and follow these instructions as well. Before you know it, it's muscle memory. You now know, I need to talk to the controller, or I need to repeat what the controller has asked me to do, because they've asked us to read back all messages, you know, read back all instructions, right? So that was lesson 2, and was all about the flying element of circuit flying. Circuit flying is elementary flying, by the way. They'll do that in the real world when you're chasing your PPL. One of the first things they're going to get you to do, circuits. And you'll do lots of circuits. You'll be tired of them, but they're important because they're training you the skills of elementary flight. Heading, you know, altitude, speed control, the whole shebang. That's where you hone in on those skills, right? So we moved on. We spoke about flight plans. What is a flight plan? Well, we need a flight plan. This is what we did last week. A flight plan is our way of letting ATC know this is what we're doing. So again, who are we? What are we? Where are we? What do we want? Where are we going? What time are we doing it at? That's kind of the idea we're following here, right? It's this whole document, lads. It's over in our Discord. there's a difference between a VFR and an IFR flight plan. There's always going to be differences because an IFR flight plan, would you believe it, is a little bit easier because it's predetermined. You will fly via the waypoints in your flight plan. VFR is a little bit different. It's a little bit looser, meaning that, well, there's more requirements for the pilot to stay out of trouble. Do not fly into certain areas that are restricted. Be careful of airspace. So VFR flying technically can be more difficult. IFR flying, relatively more straightforward because you can't really deviate from your flight plan unless, of course, you're told to, right? So we have two different types, VFR or IFR. Most of our flight planning stuff is done through SimBrief, or we can do it directly through VATSim. So we explain what planning a VFR flight. Well, we need to look at a couple of things. Before deciding on where we want to fly, we need a plan. The route, the aircraft type, location, weather, traffic, airspace, and ATC coverage are all factors that we need to consider, especially when we're flying here in our beloved simulators, right? So the route. Why is it important to plan the route? Well, you need to know, well, what's the story with fuel? How long is it going to take? How many waypoints are there, right? You don't need to plan an extremely difficult route. Start off with some basic A to B flights. That's what we're going to do tonight. Your aircraft type, this again could be straightforward, but always remember that when flying online, you need to be competent and proficient with the characteristics and the management of the systems of that aeroplane. Basically, you need to know the aircraft very, very well. That's like an absolute pro tip right there. If you jump into an aircraft you're not familiar with and you jump online to ATC, you're not going to have a good time because the aircraft will get ahead of you, right? So starting off, pick an aircraft you're very, very comfortable with. If ATC asks you to change altitude, make a heading, hold, turn right 360, you need to know how to do all of this in the aircraft. If you're in a very sophisticated aircraft like some of the Boeings or the Airbuses, it's not as easy to do that. So you need to be proficient. All right. The location, it's all about location, isn't it? But you need to know, is it under the FAA or ICAO rules? Where are we flying? North America, Europe, where? The weather, highly important, right? With the sim, we can determine our own weather, but it's always fun to use real world conditions. And this is what is most realistic, as the VATSim controllers will usually operate with current weather when controlling. We also need to know our en route and destination weather. Forecasts are important here, as many VFR conditions require certain weather minima to be able to fly. And we had a quick look at that earlier on. Traffic. Air traffic is also an important consideration. Are we flying straight into a very busy airport? Perhaps there's a VATSim event on. There's 200 aircraft taking off to jet across the Atlantic Ocean, and we're coming in a little Cessna. Let us in. We need to be aware of stuff like this. Then we look at the airspace and ATC coverage. We need to check our maps and our charts to make sure that we're aware of what airspace we're going to be entering and knowing if ATC coverage is available. Here's something very important. When it comes to flight planning, right, I'm going to have a quick look here at the flight plan that we did last week. I'm going to do this now. We're going to take off here now in a minute. Say, for example, you can see here all the charts and you have all these, see these zones. This is like Class Charlie airspace. Let's say, for example, I wanted to go from Shannon up to Dundalk, but I want to fly into Dublin, right? Now, I'm entering other airspaces. If you're filing a flight plan, or if you're at the planning stage of a flight plan, depending if I have the equipment on the aircraft and all the rules we need to consider, we may not get permission to enter that airspace. They might say, no, we're too busy. Shag off, go somewhere else. That could happen, right? So we have to plan in that eventuality. So our fuel can't be the case of, oh, sure, I don't have enough fuel. We need to plan for every eventuality. And that's what it comes into your flight planning. And you can never be too safe or too cautious. Plan for the worst, hope for the best, right? So, for example, if we want to go to Dundalk, but we don't get clearance directly over Dublin City, well, we'll have to plan to say, well, okay, worst case scenario, they'll tell us no, so we need to fly north this way and then across. Ireland's probably not a great idea because we don't have that much restricted airspace. The UK now is nuts, right? The United States is nutser, right? Because there's certain areas, they just will not allow you to transit into that airspace. They could say, yeah, no problem. You're cleared through the Charlie airspace, or you're cleared through the Bravo airspace, whatever it is. But you have to plan in case they say no, right? That's highly important. right? Highly important. Anyway, we'll go through this flight plan here now. So back into our little docket, airspace and coverage, VATSim flight plan. How do we log a flight plan? Multiple ways, right? You can do so through using your vPilot, right? So if you open up vPilot, where are you? vPilot. And by connecting to the network, vPilot is going to look for either your aircraft call sign, right? Or it's going to look for, here it is now, look, connect. Just say, well, what's your call sign? If you put in your call sign, it'll pick up your flight plan that you've pre-filed on the VATSim network. You just go into VATSim and do that. You can do it from SimBrief and you can pre-file it on SimBrief, right? Failing that, if you haven't created a flight plan at all and you just want to connect to the network, okay, you're connected. I'm as an observer, so I don't need to worry about flight plans. If I'm going to disconnect and rejoin as an actual aircraft, I'm going to connect and now I need to file a flight plan. I can do so within here. So this is the flight plan we used the last time. I'm VFR, they're the rules. My departure and destination, my departure time, how long it'll take, how much fuel do I have, what speed will I do, what altitude will I be at, what's my route going to be. Now, because I'm VFR, I don't have necessarily predefined waypoints, right? You just don't have them. But you will have visual reference points, or you'll have position reporting points. For example, Dromoland Castle, the M18, Gort, Oranmore, Lochcarab, Verbo. Controllers who are familiar with the locality, they'll know some of these landmarks. They'll have an idea of where you're going. And then any remarks you can put in here, right? Now, I've explained what all of these are, so don't worry if I'm moving through things quickly. This is refreshing. All the information is here. Have a read down through it. Flight type. It explains, well, what is the type of flight? Defensive VFR and special VFR, usually not used on VATSim. Usually. I think I've seen special VFR somewhere. I don't know if anyone can confirm that though. But I think I've seen special VFR on some VATSim event. Pilot Edge do it some bit. They'd also use a bit of defense VFR. So your flight type, departure, destination. This explains what everything is. So don't worry if you go past it. Ashley's never seen it? Okay. I thought, was there an event maybe? There was some event on. It could have been a private event. I don't know. All of this explains what it is. And then you can see, well, that's what we've done. Here's our flight plans here. And there's some differences. If you look, this one here, right? This is a VFR flight plan. But if you have a look down here, this is an IFR flight plan. Things are a little bit different. How are they different? Well, it's IFR, therefore you need an alternate. You also need the route, and you see where the route goes in. But again, there's links here using the online flight plan pre-file system. That's with VATSim. And you can also look at the real world ICAO formats. Have a read down through these, or through this. It's very self-explanatory. It'll explain to you what it is. Filling out the flight plan, the call sign, the flight rules, aircraft type, wake category. It's not a thing in Microsoft Flight Sim at the moment, but it could be important. Especially if you're on VATSim, just so they know, okay, this guy is in a super heavy or whatever it is, all right? It explains what everything is. Again, have a read down through it. Don't worry about learning it all off. Just be familiar with it, all right? What do ATC receive? No matter what type of flight plan you file, ATC and VATSim will only receive the following information. They'll know what way you're flying. Are you IFR or VFR? They'll see what equipment capability you have, your departure airport, your altitude in which you want to fly at, your arrival, an alternate if you're IFR, the route in which you're going, any remarks, and then the voice rules. Voice rules would be, are you voice and text only, voice only? They'll ask you that, all right? Equipment suffixes. Again, don't worry about this too much. There are some boxes that'll come up in your flight plan. They'll ask you to put in a letter. Are you slant alpha? Are you slant golf? Right? That's some of it. Other than then are going to be the cell cal or cell cal codes. Not important. We're not going to touch them. It's just to make you aware of them. Have a read down through this. These were used in older aircraft. Some of those older aircraft are now starting to come into the simulator, right? Warbirds especially. And this is how they would have communicated using these systems. They're starting to appear. Transponders. These are important. We need to know what our transponder is, right? So you can see, I'm just showing you what it looks like on their screen, on a controller screen, what everything looks like, right? You need to get an idea from the controller's perspective. Don't forget, the controller, their workload is going to be 10 times of what you're doing because they're looking and controlling multiple aircraft. And they don't have the visibility that you can see. They're looking at all of this through the scope or on the radar, right? So there's different ways in which our transponder operates. Mode alpha, mode Charlie. Everything we use is mode Charlie, especially with VATSim. That gives us a position, and it'll also give an altitude. That's it. Altitude reporting. Boom. That's what it does. All right. Again, have a read down through that. It shows you the transponder, what everything means. We also put in a couple of the transponder codes. And yeah, it's self-explanatory basically. All right. Moving on. Uncontrolled airports. That's the thing you're going to get on VATSim, right? I can't write things down fast enough. Everything's written in this document for you. It's a free document. It's a PDF. Download it. You can have a read through it. Uncontrolled airports. Tonight we're flying to and from and to an uncontrolled airport, meaning we go onto UNICOM, which is a universal communication channel. Everyone is on it within range, and it works off a range system. So if you're in, New Zealand and I'm in Ireland and we're both on Unicom in the sim, well, you won't hear each other. Why? It's based on distance. You know what I mean? So don't worry about that. I'm on Unicom. There's some fella in Germany giving out to me. It doesn't work that way. You're on the Unicom channel. It's only effective to the area of your operation within X amount of miles. Couldn't tell you what they are, but it's plus or minus 30 miles, I think, give or take. Anyway, couple of things to avoid at an uncontrolled airport. There are some misunderstandings when it comes to flying at uncontrolled airports. It's because most folks, when flying online, just do what they think is correct when there's no ATC online. It's a logical consequence when no one really talks about what to do and what not to do if ATC is not online. When flying both VF4 and IF4, it's important to keep in mind why you are talking on the frequency when there is no ATC. The reason is to let all pilots in the area know where you are, what you're doing, and what you are planning to do next. That's all, right? This is to enhance situational awareness of everyone in the area to keep things going smoothly and safely. That's all. All right? So with this in mind, let's highlight something a lot of pilots do, and it's not really necessary. In fact, it could be a little bit annoying for other pilots in the area. Communicating everything you do. There's absolutely no need to communicate every single thing to do. Shannon ground, I'm about to open my window. Shannon ground. Shannon traffic, I'm about to scratch my left eyebrow. Shannon traffic. You don't need it. You keep the communication flow just as you would with ATC. It's sharp, it's clear, it's concise. All right? We'll go through it now in a sec. So we're going to talk about departing uncontrolled. Again, you follow all of this because you're now talking to Shannon traffic. You need to realize if we're on or if we're at uncontrolled facilities, we don't ask for a push and start. We don't ask for a startup. It's uncontrolled, lads. You know what I mean? Shannon ground, Echo India, Tango Tango Mike, request, startup. You'll be waiting until next week before the controller comes on. Do you know what I mean? Where's that button? I always have it. I'm not taking too long now.
346 minutes later.
And they still wouldn't be talking to you. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, not important. Then you have the en route stuff. When you're moving, position reports. Sometimes you put in a position report. If you're flying in Ireland and you go over somewhere important, like the Cliffs of Moher or a monument, for example, or, you know what I mean? You're flying over somewhere that you know is busy. Well, you're going to let people know in that area, hey, I'm close to this area. Just giving you a heads up. You know what I mean? Because I can't see you. There's no radar. Remember that. Then you have your arriving, how you're going to talk to people. And then you have your landing. All right? So this explains what we do at each stage. And then lesson 3, which was last week, was this actual flight. We planned our flight, we filed our flight plan, we did the flight, and then we reviewed it. And it goes through each and every stage what we do. Stage 1, obtain the ATIS. If there's no ATIS, we get the METAR, right? Engine start radio frequencies, taxiing, departure, flying en route, visual reference points along the way, one being Dromoland Castle, one being the old Galway Airport. There's still a flight school up there, or more. Our arrival, and then we get landed. Then we taxi and we shut everything down. There was 7 stages to this last week. So what we're going to do, I'm going to do a flight from Shannon up to Connemara. It won't take terribly long. And you guys, as I said, we're all on the Unicom channels, so we need to listen out to other pilots. I'm going to fly this one. You guys are more than welcome to fly along. if you just want to watch, or give it a go. Don't be afraid of making a mistake. It's only us. We're not on a network. If you're nervous, don't be. It's only us. No one's going to give out to you. No one's going to say, you're doing it wrong. You know, don't worry about any of that. Try and follow this book as best you can. If you do that, you can't do any more. It'll be grand, right? So, with that said, right? With that said, we're going to go through all our stuff. So, I'm going to move you to one side. I have my Navigraph here. This is what the flight looks like. What I want to do, lads, we're going to take off from Shannon Airport. Runway 06 is active. We're going to fly up to the M18. That's the M18 road. We're going to overfly Dromoland Castle because it's a reporting point. We're going to keep the motorway on our left-hand side as best we can, right? Keep the motorway on the left. We're flying visual flight rules so we can see it. Dragon Eye, thank you for the follow. And as we continue to follow the M18, we're going to go as far as Gort. And we'll know it's Gort because, well, it's an urban area. It's built up. It's town. The town of Gort. Once we get to Gort, we're going to turn left heading towards Oranmore. When we get to Oranmore, we'll know we're there because we'll fly over the Galway airport at Oranmore. Yeah. Then we're not going to fly directly over Galway City. We're just going to go to the north of it and we'll fly just at the very base of Lough Corrib. We're going to ramble back down towards the road to Salt Hill and we overfly Furbo, small little village there on the coast, and we follow the coast all the way in to Connemara. We will be landing runway 05 at Connemara. Point to note, Connemara has a right-hand pattern if you're flying on runway 05. So we're going to be entering Connemara on the right-hand side. Again, it's all in our book. It's all here, look. If I scroll down, this is it here, our arrival. We're going to be doing a downwind leg join. We're going to join on the downwind leg. You guys see that clearly? There's Connemara. This little icon dude is our airplane, and this is where we're going to join it. The circuit altitude around Connemara is 800 feet above the airport. So we'll be somewhere between 800 and 1,000 feet when we join. All right? And that's it. We'll enter the downwig, we'll turn right base, then final, then land. Okay? You can't go too wrong with this. So have fun. Don't be afraid if you make a mistake. Jump on in, give it a bash. If you think you're getting things wrong, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's only us, right? It's only us. So with that said, are we doing all right now? We are. Now, make sure, Murphy, you're not connected to any network. Although, no, there is no network. Right, close that. That's okay. And open this. There are some sounds here. Now, so what I'm going to do, I need to turn on me multiplayer, right? Because there's going to be a bit of traffic here we need to contend with, right? So, we are here in Shannon. What's the weather doing? Did I lose the weather? There's no way it's clear skies in Shannon. Remember we were showing off X and Viro? This is probably why we were showing off X and Viro. There's no way it's clear skies in Shannon. Although, look, we're getting a bit of weather down there, look. Huh. What is the real world meteor? I have clear skies too and I have weather. Okay, grand. It's clear skies? Really? It was like cloudy earlier. Not important. We're on live weather. Let's give it a bash. So, there's no one on the ground I need to worry about. So I'm just going to go about my business, start up my aircraft. And I'll do all the ATIS stuff along the way. We're on Unicom, so we're not talking to any controller. We're just doing our thing. All right? So, power up. Beacon, nav. Fuel shut-off valve in. Mixture in. Open the throttle a small bit. Actually, open it fully. Fuel pump. Grand. Throttle out. And this is where we call out clear prop. Turn the keys. 1, 2, 3. And we go for start. Are we ready? Clear prop. Alright. Go start the engine. Clean your mixture a little bit. And we continue on. Go ahead and get the avionics turned on. We're looking good. We're looking good. So the information, we're assuming there is no information. We've no frequency here, so we'd look up the METAR. Yeah. So if I want to look up the METAR, I will get the METAR here for Shannon. And according to Shannon, the current METAR is what? Shannon. Yes. Show me Shannon. 2100 Zulu, 24th. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we have winds 360 at 6 knots, visibility 10 miles or greater, few clouds at 2000, ceiling 12,000, temperature 5, dew point 1, and QNH 1018. 1018. 10678. 1018. Okay. Go ahead and get these guys turned on. Now we'll need to have a listen in. There'll be other people talking, so I'm now going to tune my radio into 122.8. 122.8. Very handy if you get a little controller, or you can use Flow. Flow can do your radios for you if you don't have a fancy controller. Alright, so 122.8. Go ahead and transfer you in there, and this should give us a live feed.
I think it does historical weather as well to a certain extent.
There you go.
Oh, I see.
We're on Unicom now, so we'll have a listen in. The lads are talking. Shannon traffic. Echo India Tango Tango Mike is a Cessna 172. Taxiing via the apron and Alpha to runway 06. Shannon traffic. Okay, so I've told my intentions. I've listened out to make sure there's no one else doing a thing. Taxi light comes on, and we'll start manoeuvring forward. Alright. So taxi light is on, strobes leave off for the moment, and we're just going to taxi out. We're keeping an eye out for every other aircraft and eventualities. So I know where I'm going. I've done this plenty of times before. This is the apron, then it's on to Alpha, and then we're going to head out by runway 06. It's weird because, well, there is no tower frequency. I don't need clearance. I'm doing my own thing. I'm flying in an uncontrolled environment. I monitor Unicom. I'm on 122.8. Alright. Calibrated and compass. Yes, all calibrated. Heading. Oh, good man. Jesus. Hang on now. Hang on now. Yeah. And we have our barometric pressure in. So you have what's known as a gyro drift. That's a real thing, and you can turn that on in the sim. Basically, your magnetic compass heading indicator, she all starts drifting, which is normal. So we need to reset that. Yeah, it was miles off. Yeah. Good save, Dragon Eye. Good save. Clear skies at Shannon. Someone do the lottery. Right, Keen. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is this science? Ah, he said. So we're taxiing out. Transponder. Leave that alone for the moment. Altitude, we're going to fly no higher than 1,500 feet. I will go for 1,500 feet. Transponder is going to be set to VF4. We don't turn it on just yet. So all the while, we're monitoring the Unicom frequency. I'm listening to make sure, hey, is there anyone in the circuit? Are there aircraft coming in or coming out? There could be a friggin' airliner coming in. You wouldn't know. So you have eyes looking around, and you're listening to the Unicom channel. Yeah. Now we can have nameplates turned on for this.
Shannon traffic. Cessna 64 Mike is a 414 Chancellor, taxiing to runway 06 via the apron Alpha. Shannon traffic.
Now, without even looking behind me, I now know there's a Chancellor 414 aircraft, type of aircraft, also taxiing on Alpha. Okay, he's behind me. Don't need to worry too much about him. He's behind me, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do my run up in here. So make sure I'm not going to, like, you know, pass out anyone. And I'm going to do a very quick engine run up. This is part of your pre-takeoff checks, yeah? So we're getting into position here now. Turn our nose into the wind as best we can. Now, common sense prevail, lads. I'm not taking up the runway. Maybe the Chancellor has done a run up further back. So I'm not going to block their position. Etiquette comes into this. Spatial awareness and a bit of manners. Do you know what I mean? Right, so we're going to increase our RPM. Mixture goes in. RPM up to about 1750. Here we go. And we're going to do a mag test. So we're going to drop the mags over to the right. We should see a drop of about 150. Back to both.
Shannon traffic. Charlie Alpha Tango, Bravo Tango. This is helicopter MD500. We'll be taxiing via the apron and Alpha to runway 06. Shannon traffic.
Okay, so now we know there's a chopper coming up the road here as well. And again, I've turned off the nameplates to give me an extra challenge here. Because when you fly in VATSim, there are no nameplates. Now I can see the chopper, I cannot see the Chancellor. A limitation, if you like, with Microsoft Flight Simulator. You shouldn't have this problem with VATSim, right? You shouldn't have this problem. Okay, we'll continue on. And again, visually, you're not going to pull out in front of a faster moving aircraft. Common sense, yeah? So run-ups are complete. Continue on. So my focus now is I'm listening to anyone if they're in the traffic circuit or the pattern. Is there someone flying a circuit? Is there someone on approach? You're listening out to the UNICOM of all aircraft in the area. You listen and you watch. You keep your eyes and ears peeled. So I want to enter that runway 06. I'm watching to make sure I don't see any aircraft. No one has told me they're coming
Shannon
onto runway
traffic,
6.
Echo India Charlie Papa Mike, Cessna 172, stand 23, taxiing apron edge, Alpha to depart 16 or 6.
So there's other aircraft coming behind me. So before we get out there, I'm going to hold and I'm going to talk to Shannon Traffic to let them know I'm doing a thing, right? I'm doing a thing. Shannon Traffic, Echo India, Tango Tango Mike, Cessna 172, lining up runway 06, Shannon Traffic. The reason why you repeat Shannon Traffic, if someone jumps on mid-conversation, they don't know what airport you're talking at. There's 3 airports in this very close location around Shannon. How do we know we're talking on the right one? Know what I mean? So you keep your eyes and ears peeled. I've told them I'm entering or lining up on runway 06. I'm now on runway 06. At this stage, my transponder goes on to squawk mode Charlie, or mode C, and we're going to line up here. Set me flaps for takeoff. I'm also going to get me heading set to runway heading because I want to fly on the runway. There's a bit of wind here today, so we're going to have to aim off a little bit, and we'll get ourselves stopped and ready to go. So I now need to let people know what I'm doing. Shannon Traffic, Echo India, Tango Tango Mike, Cessna 172, taking off runway 06, heading north, Shannon Traffic. Okay, we've told them what we're doing, all our lights are on, we're squawking, walking and talking, power coming in, let's boogie. Up the yard, you devil. Put her ailerons into the wind, she's windy. There's 55. Yep, see Daisy. There's 60. Alright. Now remember, we've got to aim off a little bit with the wind.
Shannon Traffic, Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango, MD 500E, lining up runway 06.
Okay, so I can hear people behind me. There's a helicopter.
Traffic, Zulu Sierra India Charlie Echo, this time Cessna 172, taxiing via apron Alpha to runway 6, Shannon Traffic.
Now, on some aircraft, I can see that on some aircraft, they might actually leave the taxi lights on. Here's the thing, right? And it's funny.
Shannon Traffic, helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango, taking off runway 06, heading north.
So I'm now doing the cross leg. I'm at 500 feet. I'm turning left to start the crosswind leg. Yeah. Now there's quite a bit of wind here, but yeah, like it's the Cessnas I've flown. My instructor said.
Shannon Traffic, Cessna 152, Echo India Yankee Golf Charlie is taxiing via the apron Alpha to hold short of runway 06. Shannon Traffic.
My instructor actually said keep the taxi light on in case one fails. It's funny, but yeah, I think you would turn off the taxi light. Right, we're now going to leave the circuit. We're climbing to 1,500 feet. We're on the crosswind leg. We're going to tell people what we're doing.
Shannon Traffic, Cessna 64 Mike, lining up runway 06, will be making an upwind departure northbound, Shannon Traffic.
Upwind departure northbound. He's heading straight out. Straight out departure, that's what that means, yeah? Now, to make my life easier, I recommend you don't do this, but to make my life easier, we're going to go altitude 1,500, arm, and we're going to climb a little bit and see what happens. So heading is not going to be 06, Murph. I want to follow the N18 or the M18. I'm now leaving the circuit to the north. I'm going to tell folks that. Shannon Traffic, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, Cessna 172, climbing to altitude 1,500 feet. I'm leaving the circuit to the north. Shannon Traffic.
Shannon Traffic, Cessna 64 Mike, rolling runway 06, Shannon Traffic.
So we can hear that guy saying rolling. That's Matt, you think. He's saying that he's rolling. Again, he's letting people know what he's doing. Taking off, rolling,
Shannon
on
Traffic,
departure.
Helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango, climbing to 1,500 feet and leaving the traffic pattern towards the north.
There you go. So here's me M18. Visually, I'm after picking it up. Dromoland Castle. I know this area fairly well. I know where Dromoland Castle is. It's just
Shannon
here.
traffic, Echo India Charlie, Papa Mike, lining up with 06.
So the lads are all talking about Shannon behind. If I have a look out here, I know Dromoland. I'm just familiar-ish with this area. That's Dromoland Castle in there. You see where the golf course and all that is? So that's my first kind of, hey, where am I flying to? So, lads, I'm going to keep an idea of where I am. I know I'm going to follow the M18. It was based on my flight plan. I'm going to follow the M18 until I get to Gort. And this is where it's crucial. You need to know where you're flying. You need to have an idea of the area. So you have to research the route. Look at some maps. Look at your charts. You need an idea of where you're flying. I'm now overflying Dromoland Castle. Now, this is a position report for Shannon. If ATC was on, they might say report at Dromoland, report at the outer limit. You have all this sort of stuff, yeah? But for the moment, there's my M18, and I just keep that on my left window. I want to follow that road. That's the beauty and the freedom you get with VO4 flight. You don't have to climb to this level, follow this waypoint. It can be really fun doing the VO4 stuff, especially online. It's great because you're listening out for other people. I don't know what to expect coming up to Galway. I know helicopters operate there, search and rescue, air ambulance. I know they operate up here, right? Last week we had a friggin' Catalina fly in. Rolling apparently means commencing taxi, not aerobatics. That is correct. Rolling is one of them, yes. Hey, Igor Costello's here. Good to see you. If you hear rolling, that means that they're rolling. The wheels are rolling. Again, some people say it. It all depends. When you're more experienced, it's just like driving a car, right? It's the point that Skep made earlier on Epic as well. When you're learning to drive your car, remember, you have to drive with two hands on the wheel at all times, no distractions. You drive the 10 to 2 or quarter to 3 position, right? You remember all this. And then as soon as you get your license, so you'll be sitting back, your arm hanging out the window. Do you know what I mean? The same thing kind of applies when it comes to VATSim. There's a lot of stuff that you just don't really need to do after a certain point. But because it doesn't make sense to do it, logic then takes over. But to get us from entry level to where it is we want to go, we need a script. We need to refer to as something. Hence, that's why I'll be bullheaded and say, no, we're doing it this way. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. So we're continuing our flight. We passed Dromoland. The N18, the biggest town. This here, lads, is Ennis, by the way. Ennis in County Clare. And again, if you're researching your map, you can even open up Bing Maps. I can even fly by this gadget here. If I have a look at this now, let's have a look. So if I have a look at here, Ennis. It's on of course you're on the other page, Morphy. Of course you're on the other page. Imagine having this in the plane with you. Move over there, I'm trying to read. Right, so I'm now going to have a look at this.
Hello there.
Meanwhile, my plane has crashed because I'm looking at the map. Right, so hang on a second. So I'm now passing Shannon, right? And I'm going to be passing up Ennis. You can't see it. Well, maybe you can't see it on the map. See where the line is going up here? That's the M18, look, right? And I'm going to fly it up to Gort. That's where Gort is on the map. You guys see that? Right? Maybe this one will work better. Goosh. And buttons, right? So here's my map, lads, right? I'm currently flying. I need a pointer. I'm currently flying. We took off in Shannon. Seen? We're flying up the M18. This road here. That's what we're following. There's Ennis, the town of Ennis, and we're continuing on up this way. We're going to get to Gort, and then we head towards Oranmore. That's where we're heading. This is a real world chart, by the way. It's a real world chart, right? This comes from the Office of the Ordnance Surveys. They're wildly expensive. But in your real world flying, you need them. On top of having like chart access and everything else. Anyway.
346 minutes later.
I forgot to turn that alert off. But you get the idea, right? You get the idea. And this is where VO4 flight becomes exciting. It becomes fun because if you're doing this online, it gives you that added sense of locality. You're flying somewhere, listening to a controller, and you're just exploring the place. You're looking out the window. And this is where a lot of the pleasure flight is. You know what I mean? You often hear of pleasure flights. We're just going for a flight. I have a chart from the Netherlands. 2 cats, good to see you. Yeah, man, like, Jesus, as mad as Ireland is very straightforward, right? England, it's nuts. The Netherlands, it's nuts. America, it's even more nuts. Like, you could have sectionals for each area in America. I have sectionals here for St. Louis, and you know, I have a couple of different sectional maps there. The only problem with a map is, as soon as they print it, it's out of date. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of the charts and stuff move online. But you could track yourself on Volanta, you could track yourself on SkyVector. They're free options to track yourself. Little Nav Map, which I haven't got into only because I don't use it. Little Nav Map would be a massive help to you. It's free. Little Nav Map, it has very good nav data, and if this sort of flying, Little Nav Map would be absolutely ideal in these conditions. So if you have Little Nav Map, highly recommend you use that. I use Navigraph. I used to use 4Flight before, but it's awesome, right? It's awesome. So that PDF, SL, thank you very, very much. This PDF is available over on our Discord channel. All right. If you go to !Discord,
Hello there.
then you go into, once you open up the Discord, it lives in the pilot ops. You'll find it through announcements as well. This entire document is there, right? And it's free. It's you know, there's information in this taken from articles written online. It's free. I'm not selling the thing. Grab it. It's there to help you. Nothing else. It's there to help you, right? I've put in some of my own information in it as well, stuff I've come across from flying ATC or flying under ATC. But yeah, it's free to grab. Grab it, have a look at it, and have fun with the thing. Have fun with the thing. So we'll notice now, no one has spoken to us yet. We've overflown Dromoland. Our next place that we need to fly to is Gort. And there's the M18 out the window, look. Just to show you guys that I know where I'm flying and I'm happy enough where I'm at. I'm keeping to the right-hand side of that M18 motorway, yeah? Now, look, there's a helicopter right behind me. I imagine it's Catbat because what I heard him saying he was taking off. Now, if this were to happen in the real world, that helicopter, I can't see him because he's behind me. In the real world, if a helicopter was flying along, he'd say, hey, helicopter such and such, he'd give a position report, caution to the Cessna, I'm going to be passing on your left. It's American rules when it comes to overtaking, yeah? If you can go at a higher altitude, you can go beneath me, but it's all about maintaining separation. Or he might just say, I'm going to follow this guy. You don't have the luxury of a drone camera in the real world, right? So if you're approaching an aircraft and, you know, you're behind them, they can't see you, there's absolutely no problem. In fact, it's encouraged. Give them a shout to let you know, hey, I'm behind you, pal. Be careful. Caution, you got a Cessna 172, you know, 1 mile to your 6 o'clock. Keep it basic, but keep it clear, concise, yeah? So as we're currently flying on the M18, which is here, Gort is what we're doing next. So I think we're over, there's the M18. So Gort is over here, look. This is the town of Gort, okay? So when we get to the town of Gort, our next waypoint was going to be over to Oranmore. So I need to start looking out over this direction. Now again, I'm familiar with the area. I know I can follow some different roads. And the N80 or the, what was it? What was the road number? There's another road that leads there. I think it's like the M30 something. But once we get to Gort, we can see where the road branches off. Then I'm going to head out towards Oranmore. When I get to Oranmore, I'm going to let people know in the area, hey, I'm a Cessna at Oranmore. This is my altitude. This is where I'm going. You need to tell them where they are. Hurry up, pal. Then start flying jets, yeah. And again, your speed could be a huge thing as well. I'm traveling in rental mode. I'm absolutely booting it, right? Because I'm anxious of my time. But if you were flying slower and all of a sudden now you have aircraft appearing that are way, way faster. In this viewpoint here, you guys might think, Jesus Murph, it's very quiet back there. I'm going to turn on nameplates just to give you an idea. There's lots behind me. Look, there's Catbat, Muse, Gibbo, Iceman, Martel, 6 knots. There's lots and lots of people there behind me. Okay, so we're overflying Gort. I know for a fact, well, there's Galway over there. I just know that's where Galway is, yeah? So I'm going to make a very small kind of a course heading, and I know myself, if I head to about 340 degrees, give or take, I'm going to get where it is I want to get to, right? So on my heading, let us go. I head dead north for the moment, straighten up, and then we'll turn left again. I've Discord muted. Oh.
Foxtrot Cessna 172 climbing to 1,500 feet.
We're listening.
And leaving circuit to the north. Shannon traffic.
Shannon traffic, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike is taking off runway 06, heading north, Shannon traffic.
What was that feckin' call sign?
Shannon traffic, Echo, India, November, Mike, Charlie, passing Dromolin Castle to the north at 1,500 feet, Shannon traffic.
What was that call sign? So I had everyone muted because I was talking. Engine overhaul. Yeah, it's totally great. It's a rental plane. It's fine. How do you know the radio frequency to talk to the pilot in front of you? We're on UNICOM. Because we're not flying under any specific ATC region or channel, right? Because it's uncontrolled airspace. There's no one here. It's only us. We go to UNICOM. Now, UNICOM isn't there to have a chat with your pals, you know, as much as you'd like to. Use Discord for that. On the UNICOM channel, on VATSim, position reports, and just general ATC usage. Taking off, taxiing, on final, this sort of stuff, right? But if there was an aircraft ahead of me, if I suddenly saw, oh hey, I got an aircraft here, I would give a shout on the UNICOM channel.
Shannon traffic, November 731 November Echo is following the M18 northbound at 1,500. Shannon.
So you're getting position reports from people, right? Now you can say, right, common sense will prevail. There's a pilot saying, talking to Shannon traffic, I'm following the M18 northbound. We have an idea where he's going now, and he's closer to Shannon than he is Galway, for example. You know what I mean?
Shannon traffic, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo is a Vision jet climbing to 5,000 feet and is leaving the circuit to the north. Shannon traffic.
Ooh, Vision jet in VFR flights. Mind your speed, you devil. Now, we now know there's a Vision jet inbound. He's going to be on us like, you know.
Shannon traffic, Charlie Alpha, November Oscar Echo, GA parking, ready taxi.
A Vision jet is going to be catching up to us in a matter of moments. Now, the good thing is, Gibbo has intended, or he's told us what his altitude is, 5,000 feet. Now, if I decide to ramble up to 5,000 feet for the sheer crack of it, I'm in danger of holding up a Vision jet.
Traffic, Delta Echo Golf Romeo Foxtrot, Cessna 172 overhead. Dromolin Castle heading north, following M18 at 1,500 feet. Shannon traffic.
Okay, so I can see Oranmore here in the distance. There's Galway City over there. So I'm gonna. I have to aim off a little bit today because of the wind, but I'm gonna do a very small left turn here to get me over Oranmore. Once I get to Oranmore, I'm gonna be jumping on the radio and saying, "Hey, I'm overhead at Oranmore." So I can say Galway airspace. I can say Galway traffic. I can say Oranmore traffic, or you could even say Connemara traffic. It's where I'm nearest to. That's where I can give it. You know. Giva says, especially if I'm flying direct. Cisna says, Murph, you should we just say traffic now? You can, but it depends on the area you're in. If you've left Shannon traffic airspace, well, you don't need to talk to Shannon anymore. You're now out there. So I could say Galway traffic. That will alert any aircraft entering Galway. You'll hear Galway. Wait, Galway, yeah, that's where I'm going, yeah? Or you might say Connemara. You're letting people know in Connemara, hey, you've traffic coming in over Galway City. In this case, I'm going to say Connemara traffic because that's the airport I'm heading to. Do you know what I mean?
Shannon traffic, November 731 November Echo is overhead Dromolin Castle, continuing northbound to the right of M18. Shannon.
There you go. That's why it's imperative to start with the facility and end with the facility. When we leave Shannon or we're at Shannon, it's Shannon traffic. Say your message, Shannon traffic. Because if I jump on halfway through the friggin' conversation, well, who was he talking about? What? Oh wait, Shannon. Oh. And then I can always say, last aircraft at Shannon, say again, please. Because you don't want to make a mess of it, right? So looking out the window, here's Oranmore. There's Oranmore Airport. That's what I'm looking for. That is my visual reference point on my flight plan that I worked out myself, I want to overfly this and then want to head up to Loch Corrib. Looking out the window, hey, here's a big lake. That's Loch Corrib. Here's Galway City. I'm not flying directly over it, so I now know, hey, here's my visual reference points. Here's the airport that I'm overflying.
Galway traffic. Cessna 172 Echo India Charlie Papa Mike approaching from the north to overfly Galway airfield.
Now that might help, but now that interferes with what I'm doing, so I need to give a position report. Galway traffic, Cessna 172 at 1,500 feet, 2 miles south of Oranmore, heading northwest, flying to Connemara. Galway traffic. So I've now told the other aircraft, hey, I'm doing a thing. So I'm after hearing 6
Galway
knots.
traffic, Cessna 64 Mike, 414 Chancellor, just overhead Galway at altitude of 2,500 feet, heading west.
He's overhead Galway. I can't
Galway
see him.
area traffic, helicopter Echo 256 operating over Galway city centre, not above 1,500 feet.
This is very important. Now there's a chopper coming in. So you can see how things are getting to pick up. I can't see these lads. Now I could go onto my map. If I have ADS-B, well I should see traffic on my map, yeah.
Galway traffic, helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango, Bravo Tango, following an invisible Cessna towards the north, towards Echo India Charlie Alpha.
Now there's traffic, but how do I get traffic to display on this? ADS-B is off. Can you not turn it on, please? So your avionics can help you. They should help you, right? Excuse me. Galway traffic, Cessna 172, overhead Oranmore Airport, turning to the northwest to Loch Corrib, and will then be making my way to Connemara for a full stop landing. Galway traffic. It doesn't have ADS-B.
Shannon traffic, November 731 November is just east of Enos at 2,000. Shannon.
That's interesting. Surely we do ADS-B on. So ADS on, yes.
Shannon traffic, Echo India November Mike is 1 mile west of Fidon Castle at 1,500 feet. Northbound. Shannon traffic.
Shannon traffic, Zulu Sierra India Charlie Echo over Gord. Shannon traffic.
Hello there.
Want.
So there is a way I can
Connemara
mess with this.
traffic, Cessna 64 Mike is 4 miles to the east, altitude 2,500 feet, looking to make an overhead join for a full stop and landing. Connemara traffic.
Why can't that pop out?
Shannon Tower, Charlie Alpha, November Oscar Echo, holding short runway 06 at Alpha. Ready to copy.
So if it's a ready to copy, that's looking for ATC. So there isn't ATC active. Just be aware
Down
of that,
traffic. Echo India Yankee Golf Charlie, Cessna 152 overheading God at 1,500 feet, heading north following another Cessna 172 behind. Shannon traffic.
So here's my little ADS-B, right? I can see other aircraft now in my little scope here, right? And I'm continuing to fly, right? I know where I want to go. I want to be turning... Why won't that get into the... Get in there, you divil. I want to be turning left over at Loch Corrib, right? Now, it's great having ADS-B because it's showing you where the aircraft is, right? And this is the working title stuff. You lads have the same thing here, right? So don't be fretting if you're saying, Jesus, Murph, how'd you do that? There is ADS-B built into these new units. Right? Right, so I'm kind of overflying Loch Corrib a little bit. I've made a bit of a hash of it, but again, I'm VF4, I'm totally fine, right? But I'm keeping an eye out for other aircraft. See the pluses? That's giving you a difference of altitude above, plus, or minus below your location. So I have an alert to say, hey, within a nautical mile, you have traffic very, very close to you. I imagine that's the chopper right behind me. I imagine, right?
3,000 feet, Vision Jet, heading northwest, flying to Connemara. Shannon, Galway traffic.
Connemara traffic, Echo India Tango Tango Mike is a Cessna 172. Overhead Loch Corrib, heading to Furbo, landing at Connemara. Connemara traffic. I'm just giving a quick report to say, hey, Connemara traffic, there's a Cessna coming in. Again, you don't need to follow it line by line by line. Just make it as clear as you possibly can, right? So, with the
Galway
ADSB
traffic,
on,
Cessna 172, turning west to follow the coast up to Connemara for a full stop landing. Galway traffic.
now, I need to figure out where he is, because he's got to be close by. He's turning with me. So let's find out who he is. Last aircraft calling Connemara traffic. You got a Cessna 172, 1,500 feet. Current heading is 230 degrees. I'm about 2 miles from the coast. What are you flying? Let's see if 6 knots jumps back in, right?
Station calling Cessna 172, tracking the coast up to Connemara.
Okay, sweet. I'll keep an eye out for you. I'm heading in from Loch Corrib, and I'm going to be joining the coast as well. Also a Cessna 172. I'm at 1,500 feet. I will descend now to 1,000 feet.
Copy that, Cessna 172. Thanks for that.
So, this is basic communication.
Charlie Alpha November Oscar Echo holding position after departure runway 06 cleared for left-hand circuits, not above altitude 1,500 feet. VFR QNH 1011. Charlie Alpha November Oscar Echo.
Very smooth, very smooth. But what you're hearing there is, that's me and 6 knots.
Traffic, Charlie Alpha Tango, Bravo Tango, helicopter, and heading 240, following in a Cessna 172.
So, Castell Gaming, that was a helicopter on my left-hand side. I can see the traffic. So I'm now descending down to 1,000 feet. I can't
Galway
see...
traffic, Echo India, November Mike Charlie, is 3 miles south of Oranmore, northbound at 1,500 feet. Galway traffic.
So I can't see where 6
Connemara
knots
traffic.
is.
Cessna 64 Mike is overhead, now dead side descending for full stop landing, runway 05, Connemara traffic.
Okay, so that Chancellor, he did an overhead join, which is fair enough.
Galway traffic, Echo India Charlie Papa Mike. I have Cessna 172, Echo India Tango Tango Mike at my 12 o'clock now.
He's behind me. Perfect. Connemara traffic, Cessna 172, Echo India Tango Tango Mike. Flying overhead Furbo, 1,000 feet. We'll be joining the circuit for a downwind, runway 05, full stop. Connemara traffic. So I now know 6 knots
Connemara
behind
traffic,
me.
Alpha Bravo Charlie, overhead Furbo, at 3,000 feet, have traffic of Cessna 172 and helicopter 500 in sight beneath me. Full stop at Connemara in due course. Connemara traffic.
Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, you're on top.
And Connemara traffic, Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango, helicopter 500E, overhead Furbo, and inbound for a downwind for a full stop landing. Connemara traffic, have the Cessna in sight.
Now, just to be aware of this, I'm showing you this screen. You can
Connemara
pop
traffic, Cessna 64 Mike is on a late downwind for runway 06, full stop, Connemara traffic.
You can pop out panels on your aircraft, press and hold the right Alt key, and then just click the mouse cursor, right? So I can see here on ADSB, I can see where the other aircraft is. There's one shockingly close to me. See the way it's turned yellow? That's probably Gibbo. Probably. Because he's on my altitude. There's a chopper behind me. But like, when you're flying in VATSim, it's all the same. I think, as far as I know, unless I'm very
Shannon
wrong.
Tower, Charlie Alpha November Oscar Echo Cessna 172 cleared for takeoff, runway 06. Report downwind, Charlie Alpha November Oscar Echo.
Unless I'm very wrong, ADSB will also the sim will also show VATSim traffic if you have this turned off. Unless I'm very wrong, but I think it does. Right? Top out right behind you. Yeah. Right, so we're I'm going to slow down a little bit there just to give a bit of space here. I'm going to be joining the pattern to the this side. Look, so if I open up this, this is what I'm going to be doing now, right? We're going to approach Connemara. We're coming in with the coast. I want to join on the left downwind, runway 05, turn right base, and then turn right again onto final. That's what I want to do. But all
Connemara
aircraft...
traffic, Cessna 64 Mike, final for runway 05, full stop.
So he's on a... The 414 is now on a final. But anyone who joins the pattern, they need to have eyes on, because the runway has to be clear before they get there. It's up to them to say, uh-oh, I'm not clear to land, I'm out of there.
City, to join the downwind on Connemara for landing on 05, Connemara traffic.
So you can have all these things, like see that aircraft ahead, see this one here, -6, I see the direction of flight, the box is the back, the line is the direction. That there is that 414 Chancellor. I can see them on ADSB because my range is at 6 miles. I can bring this in closer if I wanted to by bringing the range
Galway
in.
area traffic, Echo 256, descending into Renmore Barracks. Galway area traffic.
So there's that chopper going into the Defence Forces. So see here, if I bring the range in, look. 1 nautical mile.
In the Echo says now 172 over at Ormo at 1,500 feet, heading northwest, flying to Connemara.
So I can see that Kappa is 200 feet below. -2. He's 200 feet below me, behind me.
Echo India November Mike Charlie, 2 miles south of Galway.
There he is.
East or
You see him?
westbound for Connemara at 1,500 feet. Galway traffic.
Okay, so we're going to get ourselves set up here for a landing.
Cessna 64 Mike has vacated the runway, taxiing to the pumps. Connemara traffic.
Okay, so I now know there's no one else at Connemara traffic. This is brilliant crack. This is brilliant crack, right? So we're going to be entering the left downwind here very shortly.
November 731 November Echo is 5 miles to the south at 2,000, flying northbound and then over to Connemara, Galway.
So I can see the runway. I'm going to enter the pattern here now. Connemara traffic, Cessna 172, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, joining the circuit on a left downwind for runway 05, 1,000 feet. Connemara traffic. Okay, so autopilot. Well, leave it on for the minute, make life easier for me, right? But we're going to join the downwind. Now I'm going to do a bit of an extended one.
Helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango is at 800 feet, joining left-hand downwind for runway 05.
And there is a bit of wind to consider. So I'm on a downwind. I should be able to look up and see where the runway is. There it is there, look. Yeah, that's where I'm going. The wind is blowing me off a little bit, so I need to down on the left hand a little bit. Connemara traffic, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, Cessna 172 on the left downwind, runway 05. Connemara traffic. I'm now on the downwind, so I'm reporting my position. I'm letting them know, hey, when you're landing, this is where you need the most amount of communication. This is the busiest part of your flight. You're landing at an uncontrolled airport, right? And we need to watch our speed. We don't want to stall, but keep our speed down. Don't need to boot.
Bravo Charlie, Vision Jet entering the circuit from the east, joining downwind at 2,000 feet. Full stop runway 05, Connemara traffic.
Here we go. So the Vision Jet is joining us as well. So the same rules apply.
Helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango, 800 feet, left hand, sorry, correction, right hand downwind, runway 05. And following in the Cessna 172 Connemara traffic.
So when, yeah,
Galway traffic, Echo India Yankee Golf Charlie, Cessna 152 is over at 1,500 feet overhead in Oranmore, heading northwest. Galway traffic.
As I said, don't worry about making mistakes, lads. All is well. Connemara traffic, Cessna 172, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, turning right base for runway 05, Connemara traffic.
Connemara traffic, Echo 256, airborne back out of Renmore, routing for Echo India Charlie Alpha.
Okay, so we're going to watch the speed. We're going to start descending.
Traffic, helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango, turning right hand base, runway 05, Connemara traffic.
Connemara traffic, Echo India Charlie Papa Mike, Cessna 172, joining the right downwind, following a small helicopter.
That'll do, that'll do. Connemara traffic, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, Cessna 172, 1 mile final, runway 05, full stop landing, Connemara traffic. Okay, get yourselves configured for a landing.
Galway traffic, Delta Echo Golf, Romeo Foxtrot, overhead Oranmore at 1500 feet, heading northwest, flying to Connemara. Galway traffic.
Connemara traffic, helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango on a 1 mile final for runway 05, full stop. Connemara traffic.
Connemara traffic, Cessna 172, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, short final runway 05, full stop landing, Connemara traffic.
Dreamy, sleepy, nighty, snoozy, snooze.
Connemara traffic, I have a jet at my 11 o'clock. Could you state your intentions?
Connemara traffic, Alpha Bravo Charlie, downwind runway 05, full stop, Connemara traffic.
Connemara traffic, helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango, short final runway 05, Connemara traffic.
Connemara traffic, Echo India Tango Tango Mike, Cessna 172, clear of the runway, taxiing through the apron via Alpha, Connemara traffic.
Connemara traffic, jet traffic, thank you for that.
Connemara traffic, Alpha Bravo Charlie, turning final, runway 05, full stop, Connemara traffic.
I blame old veteran for that.
Connemara traffic, Zulu Sierra India Charlie Echo.
There's the Chancellor, look.
10 miles east of Furbo at 1,500 feet, full stop, runway 5 at Connemara traffic.
So we're just going to stop
Connemara
here, right?
traffic, Echo India, November Mike Charlie, is a Piper PA28, joining a right-hand downwind for 05 for full stop.
So there's the chopper coming in. Jeez, look at the wind here, look.
Connemara
So let's...
traffic, helicopter Charlie Alpha Tango Bravo Tango is clear of the runway now.
Mongo, thank you for the bits.
Galway area traffic, November 7th.
There's the Vision Jet, there's Gibbo.
Is 2 miles south of Oranmore, overflying and then proceeding westward towards...
Now this is important for Gibbo. There was no way he was going to make that first turn off. Now he can do what he just did there. He's being sound, but if you're ever stuck, you don't...
Traffic, Alpha Bravo Charlie, Vision Jet vacated runway 05, taxiing to GA parking, Connemara traffic.
So you could do that. If you were on VATSim on the network, you wouldn't just go across the grass. So just be aware of that, right? The idea here is that runway is not cleared until you tell someone the runway is cleared. I vacated. I'm off the runway. You make it as clear as day. I'm clear of the runway. I vacated, right? And the point being is 6 knots is on a very short approach here, 600 feet above. He's coming in and he can see the runway. So if he saw a Vision Jet not clear, well, he'll just continue on and he'll overfly and he stays in the traffic circuit or the traffic pattern. He stays in the circuit until the runway is clear.
Traffic Echo India Yankee Golf Charlie, Cessna 152 at 1,500 feet overhead in Galway city centre, tracking the coast, heading to Connemara traffic.
Now, if I actually change the position of my aeroplane, watch this now, right? That'll make life a little bit better, won't it? Yes. So this is going to show me dead ahead. If you guys can see this, look. So according to the ADS-B, there's an aircraft 100 feet dead ahead. And there he is, look. There's a Cessna 172 coming in. That's 6 knots. So he'll report clear of the runway once he touches down, yeah? Now we can also see an aircraft 800 feet to the left. There's someone doing a left downwind at 800 feet. If we can see them. I can't see him yet. We can't see him yet.
Galway area traffic, November 731 November Echo is transitioning from the south to the west to Connemara, Galway.
Okay, so there's someone else inbound. We can see them roughly out here. They're at 800 feet above us. Now I can't see them. The sim doesn't... There's his. I can see lights over there in the distance, look. Okay, so there's another aircraft coming in. Now I can turn on the nameplates and I'll see him, look. Not working.
Connemara traffic.
There's Muse clear.
India
Look.
Charlie, Papa Mike, clear the runway.
So see the way Muse is now turning? I can see him on my scope. That's the ADS-B. You want to say runway vacated due to avoiding word clear. Yeah. So I probably said I'm clear of the runway. That was just...
Shannon Tower, Charlie Alpha November Oscar Echo on final for runway 06, touch and go.
So there's someone doing circuits back at Shannon. I messed up. We all understood. No one's going to give out to you on UNICOM. That's the beauty of it. But in order to keep things very clear and concise...
Traffic, Echo India, November Mike Charlie, entering final for runway 05, full stop, Shannon traffic. Oh, Connemara traffic.
Come on, Muse! Here comes Muse fan, look. But you get the idea, lads, right? And again, don't let this run ahead of you too much. We can do this whole lesson more and more.
India Yankee Golf Charlie, Cessna 152 at 1,500 feet, overheading town of Furbo, heading to Connemara, full stop, Connemara traffic.
Perfect. I now know what that aircraft is doing without even having to look at them. But the point of all of this, lads, this is to build up your confidence. We can have a scope like this. It's not very accurate for me because I can't identify who's on it. I know who's on it because I can hear them saying who they are, right? But like, that's grand if I only have one or two there. Muse fan is 200 feet above us. He's fighting the wind, so you can see the square is him, the line is his direction. Yeah. So if we zoom in here, look, we're going to see a Muse fan coming in. There he is, look.
Connemara traffic, Zulu Sierra India Charlie Echo. Please note the last aircraft who reported in close proximity to me.
Okay, so there's people now very, very close in the air. So you can say you're in close proximity. Help them out. Hey, this is my position. This is another aircraft. Be advised, I am, 100 meters to your 6 o'clock. Help them out. Maybe they can't see it.
Delta Echo Golf Romeo Foxtrot, 10 miles to the east at Furbo at 1,500 feet, full stop, runway 05, Connemara traffic.
Come on, Muse fan!
256 right base, runway 23, Connemara traffic. Left base, Connemara traffic.
Okay, Epic Food
Connemara
was...
traffic, Echo India, November Mike Charlie, vacated runway, heading for GA parking, Connemara traffic.
Perfect, Muse. Absolutely golden, man. I just heard
traffic. November 731 November Echo is 2 miles to the west.
So I just heard Epic Fool saying he's coming in with a helicopter. That's going to be interesting, and because he said runway 23.
Connemara traffic, Zulu Sierra India Charlie Echo, Cessna 172 entering the circuit from the east, joining downwind runway 5, Connemara traffic.
So there's someone coming in runway 23, look. This is probably Epic, but if he's in a chopper, he's okay. Depending on what the weather is doing, depending on what way the winds are, you would always fly and land facing the wind. That's how it works, right? Chopper, you could be doing a short approach over the field. Again, you're just keeping an eye on who is in the circuit. Who's here? Who's around you? I can definitely see something coming in. I don't know, is it a chopper though?
Hello there.
It's a chopper. Here comes Epic.
Shannon
right?
Tower, Charlie Alpha November Oscar Echo, departed runway 06, cleared for left-hand circuits, not above altitude 1,500 feet.
Now, if you're getting worried saying, why are we still listening to Shannon and we're up in Connemara? We're still fairly close to Shannon, so we'll hear them. However, on VATSim, you probably wouldn't have that clear a signal now. You'd lose that signal degradation. So the lads down at Shannon, you won't really be hearing them. You know what I mean? So here comes Epic.
Traffic, Delta Echo Golf Romeo Foxtrot, entering the circuit from east, joining downwind, runway 05, Connemara traffic.
So here's another aircraft now coming behind us, look. So here's Epic in his epicness of the medical chopper. So he's coming into land. He told us what he was doing, how he was going to do it. The wind is behind him, but that's okay. He'll figure it all out. And then he'll just get onto the apron. And we still have a couple of aircraft parked up here. Hang on, wait, did the wind change, Epic? The wind's changed. Is runway 23 now active? That's very strange, isn't it?
Connemara traffic, Echo 256, clear runway through 23, Connemara traffic.
There you go. Epic is laughing.
Connemara traffic, Zulu Sierra India Charlie Echo, downwind, runway 5, full stop, Connemara traffic.
Okay, so there's another aircraft on approach here. There he is. Look at that. Without having nameplates on, you can identify the other aircraft.
Traffic, Echo India Yankee Golf Charlie, Cessna 152 joining right-hand circuit at downwind for runway 05, full stop, Connemara traffic. Number 2 following the Cessna 172.
That's a very good point the last pilot said. So he's now letting everyone know, hey, I'm only the second plane up here. I can see the Cessna ahead of me. I'm going to follow him in. The job of the first Cessna who heard that, well, there's a buddy following you, so you got to report clear the runway, right? But just like last week, you guys are doing such an awesome job. Like, the voice procedure is off the chart here tonight.
06, full stop.
So we can hear someone practicing down at Shannon. We have people flying up here. We've had a helicopter come in. We got a Vision jet in here, right? We had a Catalina last week. And on our scope...
November 731, November Echo is over Furbo, inbound to land 06, Connemara.
So we can kind of see the wind is having an effect on the lads. These two aircraft are very close. They're within 100 feet.
Zulu Sierra India Charlie Echo, Cessna 172, turning base, runway 5, full stop, Connemara traffic.
So there's two aircraft inbound at 800 feet. They are shocking close to each other.
Delta Echo Golf, Romeo Foxtrot, downwind, runway 05, orbiting left.
There they are. There's a couple 100 feet between them. There's the guy at the back, and there's the guy at the front. And then we have an aircraft on final. They can see each other. You can see there's actually okay. The spatial distance or the distance between them, it's actually okay, right? It's not, they're not like side by side. But
Panama traffic, helicopter 64 Mike, starting engines, caution, a rotor wake near the fuel pumps, Connemara traffic.
Yeah, I mean, you can advise that. Of course you can. If there's other aircraft going to be taken off, I'm a chopper taking off.
Connemara traffic, Zulu Sierra India Charlie Echo 1 final, full stop, runway 5.
Okay, so we got an aircraft coming in. Just remember to repeat the facility name on your way in.
Connemara traffic, Cessna 152, Echo India Yankee Golf Charlie, turning base for runway 05, full stop, Connemara traffic.
Okay, so there's more aircraft coming in. Now there's some gone out left here to the far side, but don't worry about it. Here's an aircraft coming in a very short final. But I had to mute your Murph, got awful busy on both sets of comms.
Connemara traffic, November 731, November Echo is 3 miles to the east, descending to 1000 from 1800, Connemara.
You had to mute me. Try to be, that's a good thing. You'd have to mute me. But isn't this cool? Like what we're doing tonight. This is all weeks of learning and figuring things out, and it's in a safe environment that it's only us, right? It's only us. So like it's grand. We'll do more of this. We'll practice more of this, so you guys get a little bit more used to it. Doing the circuits, doing the flying from uncontrolled airports. Very soon we're going to be flying from an uncontrolled to a controlled, or flying from a controlled to an uncontrolled. So we're going to progress through this slowly, right? If there's anything you were struggling with, there's an absolute ton of information that we've made here through this document. Tons and tons and tons, including a step-by-step of all of the lessons. What do you say? How do you say it? And the idea here is it's based on providing you with the knowledge base to be able to do this on the network. Then you will learn more and more skills and procedures and all that jazz. But this is designed to give you like the initial start. This is where we begin from. Do you know what I mean? So this document, as I said, it's over in our Discord, ! Discord, jump on over, go into the pilot ops, or you'll see it in the announcements where everything is. That's where this is. It's free, grab it, follow it, step by step by step, and have a read over it, you know? The next lesson, we'll see how we go with this one. Because what we've done tonight, again, it's the pace that you guys are moving with is excellent. Our next lesson is going to be departing a controlled airport and landing at an uncontrolled airport. That's the next lesson. That's what we're going to figure out, right? And it's, again, we're sticking to VFR. So now we actually need to talk to ATC. They're going to speak back to us. When we get our departure clearance, if you like, or, you know, we can now take off, the controller might ask us to report at a certain VRP. You know, contact me when overflying Dromoland. Out. And then once we pass them, the tower will hand you over or hand you off onto the UNICOM frequency. All right? That's the idea. So, lads, that's it. Shinawil, thank you also very, very much indeed for your time and your support tonight. It's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff to go through. Have a read through the document. If anyone's getting stuck, just give me a shout. Let me know what the crack is. You have ADSB now. It works, right? Which is great. If anyone has any questions, hit me up on Discord, especially in the ATC chat channel. That's where you'll find everything. If you land on Discord and you can't find anything, just bounce a message. Say, hey, what do we do? It's fairly self-explanatory. So until the next time, have a great night. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on Wednesday.